X Stadium in Tyler Field, Wichita State for the first of 9 in a row at home. First of 5 straight on Shocker HD. Glad you could join us here tonight. Shane Dennis alongside Denning Gehrig here in X Stadium. Home sweet home. The Shockers with 6 big ones in a row in the league. Finally get some baseball weather. It'll be 75 degrees with a light northeasterly breeze. Should be plenty comfortable for baseball here tonight. First ever meeting between Wichita State and Cincinnati. The Shockers looking up at almost everybody in the standings, but Denning, they got 9 more games, 6 of them here, no time like the present.
Every game from here on out, the most important game left on Wichita State's schedule as far as the conference is concerned. You can see there 5-10, the record overall has them just ahead of Memphis, and even though that overall record of 28-14, plenty good enough to get an at-large bid, there's still some work to do if they're going to secure a spot.
And one guy that's doing a lot of the work offensively, he's on a career best 17-game hitting streak here on May the 4th, and Star Wars night pretty much across the country in baseball. Luke Ritter has been red hot.
Raises averaged nearly 100 points from a year ago. Luke Ritter just having quite the junior season. All the attention, of course, was on the other juniors, Grayson Genista and Alec Boehm. And after a slow start, it looked like Ritter wasn't going to play much of a factor in this year's team, but he has turned it on as of late. And of those 17 games in that hitting streak, 9 of them are multi-hit efforts. So he has just been incredibly consistent at the top of the Wichita State lineup.
In league games only, he is tops on the team in hits. He has 20 hits in his 15 league games. Now, one guy that needs to get back on the beam is starting tonight, and that's the starting pitcher, Cody Hoyer. His overall numbers look good, Denning, but his command has been really spotty the last 3 outings.
A guy who's definitely in need of a bounce back. Just had a really weird start down in Orlando against Central Florida. 2 1/3 hitless innings, but 4 walks, and has had a hard time finding the strike zone. Of course, he has the strikeout stuff, but the Shockers need some innings from him tonight.
Starting lineups in the first pitch. First ever meeting between Wichita State and Cincinnati coming up next on WSUTV.
Introducing Dunkin's new cold brew coffee. Steeped slowly in cold water for small batches with an ultra-smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
Charles Koch Arena is the place where we gather as a community to compete against the very best. Now our game plan is to renovate Koch Arena by adding a new Student-Athlete Success Center. Your tax-deductible gift can help deliver that slam dunk. Join us at the level that is right for you. Donate online at wichita.edu/shocktheworld.
Shockers and Bearcats here on WSU TV. 9-game homestand, the final 9 home games of the season. Season's already gotten away from us. Shocker starting defense has been a tick below last year defensively. They're fielding 969, but a program record in fewest number of errors a year ago, so that spoiled everybody a little bit. But that 969 is still good for top 10 all-time in Wichita State season. So Alex Jackson getting the start in left field. Boyer has started to platoon a little bit when left-handers are on the mound, and that's why he's out there here tonight.
I like the addition of Jackson out in left field and moving Dayton Dugas to designated hitter. Feel like this defensive alignment in the outfield for Wichita State can really go get it.
An omission out of the Cincinnati starting lineup. Their second-best hitter, Manny Rodriguez, had a hamstring strain. He started every game this year until the midweek game against Miami of Ohio. He is available to pinch hit, perhaps. 304 and 9 home runs out of their starting lineup. And inside it, the lower third of that order, quite a few outs when it comes to American play. Ramey only his 4th start. He's 0 for 9 in American play. Trey Habercorn hitting 152. Dondre Bremner hitting only 185 inside the league. By the way, Cincinnati Bearcats 8-7 in the conference. So if you want to dream a little bit and hope for a sweep, the Shockers could catch the Bearcats in the standings and then, of course, own the tiebreaker against them head-to-head. But first things first, Cody Hoyer making his first start at home since the UConn game where he was okay. He had a really good start in a losing effort inning against Houston where he went CG after giving up 3 runs in the first 3 innings, but really had a head scratcher against UCF. Didn't allow a hit, but didn't make it out of the 3rd.
You thought that Houston start was maybe where he would turn the corner. Just one of those 3 runs was earned. He looked like he was in command of all of his pitches, able to execute a plan too. But yeah, down against Central Florida, just not the same Cody Hoyer. Had problems with the strike zone and seemed like he was pitching from behind pretty much the whole game.
So their best hitter, Kyle Motice, hitting .305 on the season, will lead it off, and it would appear that Cody Hoyer, in an effort to try to iron some things out delivery-wise, is going to go from the stretch. So sometimes, Denning, when you have trouble throwing strikes, less is more, so eliminate some things.
That is definitely something that Mike Steele has utilized in the past and utilized this season when he's trying to get guys to simplify their deliveries and just be a little more straightforward with it.
1 ball and 1 strike. The corners are in for Motice. A couple of home runs, 18 RBIs, you see there. Not pictured, his 11 stolen bases. It's a team that will run a little bit. Connor McVeigh, who will hit later on, 12 steals for him. Good off speed drops in there, 1 and 2.
Motice is what makes this Cincinnati offense go. Guy who only hit 191 last year in 37 starts, but just an excellent bounce back season at the top of the order. Exactly what you want a senior second baseman to be.
Crowded him, good pitch. Didn't get the call, 2 and 2. Now, when the season began, we knew about Alec Boehm. We knew about Grayson Genesta, the 2 guys that were preseason All-America, very highly thought of prospects. But after those 2 guys get drafted in June, and they will get drafted very high, very likely the guy on the mound will go 3rd for Wichita State. Where that is remains to be seen, but there's a tremendous arm, and Motice takes him right back through the middle for a leadoff single. So Cody Hoyer got ahead in the count and couldn't put him away.
Fastball velocity alone is not going to get it done against good hitting teams. And Cincinnati, I think fair to say that they fall into that category when they're swinging the bats well. Motice got himself a 2-2 fastball out over the plate there, shoots it back up the middle.
They hit .250 as a team. Inside the conference, it's slightly worse than that, just south of .220. So Shockers have faced their share of teams like that lately. Houston and UCF, statistically, offensively challenged, and that's what made Cody Hoyer's start against UCF last weekend so confounding. That was an outing that led to 9 walks, staff-wise. That was a big reason why the Shockers lost a week ago tonight. Clipped the outside edge with the slider, 1 and 1.
That was a start where he got 7 outs, 5 were strikeouts. So you know that the stuff was there, just the command of it was a little bit shaky, obviously, with the 4 walks, and just seemed like he was battling it from the very get-go.
Motice draws a throw. Joey Thomas has bounced into 4 double plays this year. Their catcher hitting in the 2 spot. Thomas in league play was one of those guys below the Mendoza line, 194, 6 for 31 in American play. Cody Hoyer will certainly never be confused with Greg Maddux as far as the pitch efficiency is concerned, but he's more than capable of going 5 or 6 with 90 pitches or less, considering the stuff that he has.
Just because of the high strikeout rate, he's gonna rack up quite a bit of pitches in the early innings, and a guy who seems to need to find it oftentimes through the first couple of frames.
Bouncer to short, and Trey Vickers kicks it. Runner's going to try to go to 3rd, and out there. Shockers giveth and taketh away. Motice thought he got his hand in there. The throw from Boyer was a little high, and so the Shockers, while they could have had a double play, Denning avoided total disaster by getting that out at third base as Motais got a little greedy.
Very heads up from Jordan Boyer on the back end here, recovering this baseball and pretty much letting it go blind. You can see there, picks up and throws all in one motion. And what may have been the difference there is that Motais kind of stuck in the turf. His hands couldn't get extended, and Bohm was able to get the tag down on him.
Motais, despite the awkward slide, still thought he got in there. And after a brief argument by Scott Guggens, the head coach, I think the Shockers will take the result, all things considered.
Third baseman Connor McVeigh.
Vickers just peeked a little bit, I think, trying to flip to second. Knew he had to hurry, and he just left it on the turf behind him. But the Shockers do get an out. Be a fielder's choice, E6. And that fastball was barely outside, 1-0. Connor McVeigh, the active leading home run hitter with 5. Now that Manny Rodriguez, 9, is absent from the starting lineup. 1-1. Cincinnati, as I mentioned, 8-7 in the league. They lost a 3-game series, 2-1 to Tulane, 1-1 against Houston, swept Memphis, got swept at UCF, and dropped 2 out of 3 to UConn. So their league numbers pretty much reflect their season numbers, right around 500. Three and 1. Hoyer, as we talked about, command issues last start, 4 walks in that one. He had 3 walks in 8 innings against Houston, only 1 walk in his last home start. That was against UConn. So he has shown flashes, Denning, of a good grasp of the strike zone, but just not consistent. That one smacked back through the middle, so that out at third has turned out to be huge. McVeigh, a solid single to center. And now Joey Weimer.
Same story. 3-1 count, fastball over the middle of the plate, and good hitters are going to square those up. McVeigh has been swinging the bat very well as of late, at a walk-off base knock for Cincinnati last weekend against Kansas, and goes right back up the middle once again as Hoyer dealing with some trouble here in the top of the first.
So 2 on, 1 out. Joey Weimer, the Bearcat left fielder, third leading hitter on the team in the regular season overall, 275 his batting average. And Hoyer starts him off with an off-speed pitch.
You're going to notice a lot of movement from Joey Weimer in his batting stance. It is a little unorthodox, both with the hands and a very high, exaggerated leg kick. But when he gets the timing all set and all squared away, he can usually put a barrel on a baseball.
Nothing in 2. Well, he's seen 1 pitch of each, 1 soft, 1 hard. Didn't trigger either one of them, so maybe outthinking himself here early on with a runner in scoring position in the very first inning. Weimer will strike out about once every 5 times up there. Hoyer way ahead in the count. A little comeback fastball, didn't come back enough. 2-seamer, stayed outside, 1-2.
We've mentioned this before, but Cody Hoyer does throw 2 different types of fastballs. Straighter, harder 4-seam, and then that little 2-seam, which will run back to the outside corner against righties, and he'll use that against lefties too. Start it at the hip and kind of work it to the inner third. So essentially acts as 2 different pitches.
And we've talked about this before as well. When you're as big and lanky as Cody is, and you're working out of the stretch, some things to be said about eliminating some things out of your delivery, but when you try to be quick to the plate, which he is, very quick to the plate, sometimes the arm lags behind. And that's what happened with that last breaking ball. stayed upstairs. 2-2. Had him reaching, and Weimer shoots it foul. It's still 2-2. Single, fielder's choice, E6, but Mo Tice was thrown out trying to go to third. That was the play of the first inning so far. But then McVeigh kept things going for Cincinnati with a line shot single to center. So that's where we are. 2 on, 1 out in the first. Five, 4, 3. Not exactly tailor-made, but they turn it over and bail Cody Hoyer out with the ground ball that he was looking for. Shockers coming up in the bottom of the first.
Become a part of history at Wichita State University by helping us complete X Stadium. A new 10,000 square foot performance facility will give our baseball, softball, tennis, and golf student athletes the strength and conditioning training space they need. Your tax-deductible gift will help us knock it out of the park. Join us at the level that is right for you. Donate online at wichita.edu/shocktheworld.
Shockers will take their shots at J.T. Perez, the senior left-hander for Cincinnati. Cody Hoyer pitched around an error and a couple of base hits in that first inning. Got a big 5-4-3 double play. Defensively, Cincinnati Bearcats, .967 fielding percentage, but really the thing that will jump out at you and will alert the viewers, Denning, their shortstop is really not a shortstop. Andre Bremner is getting his very first start at short thanks to the injury for Manny Rodriguez.
Bremner's played a little bit of first base, but he's mostly been a DH, as that has been Manny Rodriguez's spot virtually the entire season. He missed the midweek game against Miami, Ohio, and of course is not in there again here this afternoon. That could be a big loss for Cincinnati.
So the man with the 17-game hitting streak, Luke Ritter, will lead it off for Wichita State. He's playing right field tonight. That's his 7th start in right. Alex Jackson getting his 5th start in left. And you see down toward the bottom of the order, Jordan Boyer back in there after a little bit of an absence, having been platooned a little bit within the last couple of weeks, depending on who's on the mound. But with a lefty on the mound, Boyer's in there. Dugas is DHing, and they'll be facing J.T. Perez, who, like a lot of people on this staff, Denning, doesn't have a huge arm or big swing and miss stuff, but the guy is a horse and he really knows how to pitch.
And what he does have is elite command. The 25 walks in 71 and a third innings is actually a much higher walk rate than he's typically had over his career. He is one of the best at limiting free passes.
Yeah, he slings that one in there over but low, and we're underway here in the bottom of the first. So Ritter, Genesta, and Bohm, the Shockers 19-4. Here at the friendly confines. That one finds a strike zone. It's 1-1. In American play here at home, took 2 out of 3 from Tulane. That one's skied in the air deep and twisting toward foul ground and out of play. Way out in front of that one, and that one to the moon and back. 1-2. Shockers won a series against Tulane. Lost 2 out of 3 against UConn. Then had to hit the road for a couple. So it'll be Cincinnati and USF. Back-to-back weekends here at the Eck. Perez will give up a few long balls, 6 in 71 innings. That one's shot foul back and out of play. And what a tear Luke Ritter has been on, Denning. We chronicled his slow start, but bears repeating. He has just been so good over the last month or so.
The 17-game hit streak, 9 of those 17 games have been multi-hit efforts. He's been hitting for power as well. Now 6 home runs for him in addition to 25 RBI.
And the streak continues. He gets to 18. And he'll turn first and hold on with a single. So Luke Ritter takes care of the drama early. It takes Denning 20 in a row to get into the Shocker record book. And that would be tied for 17th if he can get a hit tomorrow and then Sunday. But hitting streaks are cool, man. They're fun to watch.
Well, it shows consistency is what it does. The ability to come to the ball yard every day, be locked in, and get hits against tough pitching. And not going to get much tougher than JT Perez. Great piece of hitting there on 1 and 2.
So here's Genesta. He will be one of the 2 left-hand batters to face the southpaw JT Perez. Perez actually got knocked around a little bit in his last start outside of the conference against Kansas. That was way down in the end. It got blocked by Thomas, the catcher. Perez gave up 8 hits in 5 1/3 against the Jayhawks, and that was coming off a shutout against UConn, in which he struck out a season-high 10. So he's capable of really gobbling up the innings. And this will be, even though Genesta is a pretty gifted hitter, this will be a tough assignment as JT Perez kind of comes down Laredo. Absolutely, at the very least, lower 3/4. Two and one.
It wasn't just the 8 hits from KU that jumped out at me. It was the 3 walks in 5 1/3 innings. Very uncharacteristic for Perez, and a guy who, as a sophomore, in 91 innings, walked 14. He's kind of alternated good and bad years in his 4 seasons at UC.
Little tapper, that'll work like a bunt. Even if they get an out, the race to the bag and dropped by the second baseman, Motice. Everybody safe. Take our word for it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but no signal by Mark Huseman, right?
Just really wanted to be sure. Just really took a long look at it. Credit to Genesta for getting out of the box in good shape and making Santiago make a perfect play. And that was not going to be easy with the second baseman Motice having to come over and cover. Very unorthodox play.
Probably should be an error 4, but we'll wait for the ruling. So at any rate, 2 on, nobody out. Bohm takes inside, 1-0. Alec Bohm, team's leading hitter, .327, leading in the Triple Crown categories. Average 9 home runs, 40 runs batted in, .556 slugging, so 19 extra base hits all told. Shot to right, that's going to peel off foul and out of play. 1-1.
How big would it be if Wichita State could cash in a couple here after turning aside a Cincinnati rally in the top half of this inning? Couple hits, the error mixed in, and a big double play ball that got Cody Hoyer out of that jam. If Wichita State could turn an error into a couple of runs here in the bottom half, that would be huge.
That last play went E4. So first and second, nobody out. Ball got loose onto the field, and Ramey, the right fielder, had to go retrieve it and whiffed in trying to throw it back into the stands after the first try. Now we're going to be set for play. Interestingly, though, the outfield, Denning, shaded Bohm well around to right. He has an acre down the left field line and plenty of room to straightaway center. So we'll see if JT Perez pitches to the scouting report and stays away from him. Snuck one on the inside corner, 1-2.
Shane, I don't know if you would agree with this, but just having watched Alec throughout this season and, of course, the last couple of years, I would say some of his best power is towards right center field when he really gets the arms extended and the barrel extended through the zone. And so in a lot of ways, I think it makes sense to kind of shift him in that direction.
Haberkorn, the center fielder especially, I would agree with you. Went back in there, and Thomas dropped it. If we can get a shot at maybe from the stands and be able to see Haberkorn, the center fielder, you can kind of see in your mind's eye when Bohm is going good. Him shooting the ball that way to right center field with authority. There you go. There's Haberkorn in center field. And most of the season, that's been Bohm's MO. Hit the ball where it's pitched, hit it with authority. Way outside, 3-2.
What's really interesting to me, though, is that teams have shifted him like this and then worked fastballs in, which is kind of in contrast to where you might pitch a guy if you're going to shift him to the opposite field. The idea being that they can maybe bust him in with hard stuff.
Well, what it tells me that Bohm will not swing at it in there. So there's no real fear to try to needle that inside corner because he wants it middle away. Interesting strategy, though. Taylor-made ground ball to shortstop, and that is a 6-4-3 double play. So Alec Bohm's double play, short circuit set shocker rally, and it'll be up to Troutwine with 2 away and Ritter at third.
Pretty big pitch there from Perez on 3-2. That inning could have gotten out of hand in a hurry, and just like Weimer bounced into the double play to end the top half of this inning, it's a big one there from Bohm. This Cincinnati team, top 10 in the country in turning double plays. They've rolled 46 of them now. That was 8th coming into play today.
And not a bad job by Bremner, who hasn't played shortstop all year, although that was pretty much hit right at him. So here's Troutwine. His comeback after last year, especially offensively, the remarkable trend continues. He shoots one foul, 1-1. Gunnar a year ago in 76 at-bats had no home runs and 7 runs batted in. His next home run will equal his career high. His next RBI will establish one. Soft stuff catches the outside corner, 1-2. He was 1 out of 8 against UCF. So both pitchers threatening to pitch out of trouble. Troutwine hard to right. Back goes Ramey. He's got room and makes the play. So both pitchers got betrayed by their defense, but both turn away the opposition. We're through 1 here at the Eck.
Introducing Dunkin's new cold brew coffee, steeped slowly in cold water for small batches with an ultra smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
Some traffic on the base paths in the first inning, but while both teams threatened, neither scored. Double play was involved in both. Cole Murphy will lead it off here in the second against Cody Hoyer, who needed 20 pitches to negotiate a couple of hits and an error in the first. Murphy, Santiago, and Bremner, 2 of the 3 will be left-handed facing Cody Hoyer. Hoyer a year ago almost exclusively out of the bullpen. Really his first 2 years. Of his 44 appearances, only 5 of them were starts. This is start number 12 for him in his junior season.
Bearcats' second designated hitter, Cole Murphy.
Cole Murphy, a guy that has struggled at the plate this year, hitting just .193. He does have 6 home runs, though. Kind of an all-or-nothing guy. Big left-hand batter leading off the second. Murphy, as I mentioned, one of those guys that has really struggled once the conference play has begun. He is just a 114 hitter, striking out nearly half the time inside the Americans. 17 punch-outs and 35 conference at-bats. And he hits one a mile in the air to the right side of the diamond. One away. A high pop-up and a high sky today.
Helps to have a guy who's played a lot of center field and Grayson Genista over there at first base. And while Boyer was definitely in the neighborhood, I think Genista was calling for this one the whole way. That's a good job, though, by Jordan just to be over there in case Grayson does happen to lose it in the sun. You can have a guy backing you up if that is the case.
Yeah, and Boyer is coming in from a little bit different angle. Maybe the sun is not in his face quite as much as it was Grayson Genista's, but Grayson had it all the way. Eric Santiago. 24 hits, 98 at-bats, 2 of them home runs. This is, quite frankly, Denning, a patchwork lineup for Cincinnati. They've been ravaged by some injuries. A.J. Bumpus did not make the trip. He has started 39 games. They've got a pitcher on the shelf. They've got Manny Rodriguez, their starting shortstop, on the shelf, but may be available later. And now Cody Hoyer is elected to go from the windup, and he's fallen behind Santiago 3-0.
And Santiago's not a true first baseman, really. He's been kind of a super utility guy ever since stepping on campus at Cincinnati and playing more at first base by default than anything else.
Flip the zone down around the knees, 3-1. And in a fastball count, that's the second time in as many innings, Denning, where Cody Hoyer is paid for falling behind in the count. While you applaud him for challenging the hitter, but falling behind, that's kind of what you're asking for.
You're going to give up plenty of hard hit balls and 3-1 counts when you throw fastballs for strikes, even though we know that Hoyer can run that fastball anywhere from 93 to 95 with some consistency. Good hitters can time a bullet, and if they know a fastball is coming, they're going to put a good swing on it. You just hope that it's hit right at somebody.
So here's Dondre Bremner, who has, frankly, not been much of a hitter this year. 203 overall, slightly below that in American play, 5 for 27 with 16 strikeouts. That average in the league, 185.
Yeah, all told for Bremner, 59 at-bats, 25 strikeouts. So just over once every 2 times up.
So in summation, there are quite a few guys in this lineup that early in the count you want to throw your best stuff to. Whatever you can have most confidence in throwing strikes, throw those. 2-1.
Very succinct, very accurate. Don't necessarily have to be perpetually ahead in the count against the bottom part of this order, but it wouldn't hurt. And at the very least, be even at the point where you're not forced to throw fastballs.
For the second consecutive batter, it is 3-1. So Dondre Bremner with a favorable count here. Runner not going, and it's 3-2. Santiago, not much of a base stealer, 3 out of 5. We'll see what happens here on 3-2.
And this is where Bremner's strikeout rate really limits how creative I think Scott Guggens can get. Do you really want to risk putting a guy in motion when there's someone who strikes out about once every 2 times up?
See what Hoyer has in mind here on the 3-2 pitch. Runner not going, and strike 3 call. The late call by the home plate umpire, John Osmus, but that's out number 2. First strikeout for Hoyer.
This is a pretty good example of why 3-2 breaking balls don't have to be great. If you can throw it for a strike, even belt high right over the middle of the plate, you can get away with it sometimes because hitters are looking for hard stuff.
And when your hard stuff is really hard, like 94, that flip get me over 3-2, like you said, sometimes will lock guys up. So 2 away. Treg Haberkorn, center fielder.
I read some interesting stuff a while back on, it was an analysis of pitchers who wanted to start throwing more breaking balls up in the zone because they feel like that the game has shifted so much in terms of looking for certain pitches in certain spots that hitters are now conditioned to give up on high breaking balls. They just feel like they're elevated and not worth swinging at. I'm not saying that's something that should be repeated consistently.
Right.
I wouldn't call that a recipe for success, but it is kind of an interesting thought because you just don't see pitchers actively trying to throw sliders at the top of the strike zone.
Does that go hand in hand with the new launch angle affinity? Because you're trying to lift balls, and a ball up around the belt, not as easy.
I'd imagine there's some relationship. I haven't really delved into that as much, but I think there's a difference, too, between purposefully throwing a breaking ball elevated as opposed to hanging one.
Right.
Where it's just spinning out of your hand, and so then it's just an 86-mile-an-hour fastball.
2-1 to Haberkorn. And I was going to say, I don't know how that didn't hit him, but it did. That one down around his feet. Not much Haberkorn could have done there. So 2 on and 2 out.
Here comes the shortstop.
And that'll bring up Jordan Ramey.
Well, we were hoping that Cody Hoyer would settle down a little bit here in this second inning, but it has still been a little rocky as far as the command goes. This is a 2-1 fastball that's just bounced nowhere close, and Haberkorn never had a chance to get out of the way.
That may have even hit him twice. Hit him in the leg and then crawled up his body. At any rate, here's the 9-hole hitter, Jordan Ramey. Ramey is 1 for 18 this year. One hit. It was a single. In those 18 at-bats, he struck out 10 times.
Choke up on the bat.
That one's in there. Of course, not a bad idea if you're Jordan Ramey. Try to distract him, take a called strike, make him throw one.
This is a really big Cincinnati team. Jordan Ramey does not really fall into that category. Listed at just 5'6" on the Bearcats roster. And not what Cody Hoyer needs as far as a smaller zone to throw to right now.
One strike away from getting out of the second unscathed, and for the second straight inning, working around a 2-on jam. This is Jordan Ramey's 6th start. He's appeared as a pinch runner and defensive replacement 11 other times. One hit in 18 at-bats. Hoyer tried to tempt him. 2-2. And certainly you want to make it happen here, Denning. You missed 3-2. Santiago and Haberkorn get a few extra steps on 3-2. And then a consequent base hit will almost certainly give Cincinnati the lead. Cody Hoyer plays with fire, but gets out of it with a couple of called strike threes.
Green Vision Group, strikeout.
Wichita State University is Shocker Nation. We exceed expectations, push boundaries, seize opportunities, and move boldly ahead. We are student-centered and innovation-driven. It's who we are. Our vision is simple but powerful. Create, innovate, collaborate, and celebrate. With one unifying purpose: to shock the world.
Shockers hoping the old adage of if you don't get him early, you might not get him at all will apply to Cody Hoyer. Hoyer's worked out of a mess in each of the first 2 innings. And while the Shockers had a couple of runners on and nobody out in the first, they'll try to get on the scoreboard first against JT Perez here in inning number 2. Shockers came into this game 28-14, but Denning just 5-10 in the American. And if you took everything out of play and just leaned on the RPI, you would think that Todd Butler and the Shockers would be in really good shape. Their RPI is in the top 20, and it is very hard to keep a top 20 RPI team out of the postseason. But the glaring thing is the 5-10 conference record and losing the wrong games at the wrong time from here on out.
5-10 is really going to jump out at some people on the selection committee and could be the difference as to whether or not Wichita State gets in. But the RPI really buoyed by that strong non-conference schedule, some big midweek wins. The 2 against Oklahoma State have been very important. The 1 against Creighton, beating Oklahoma. So there are some wins that have really appreciated in value as the season has gone along and have kept Wichita State in the thick of that at-large consideration.
Dugas, a little swinging bunt. Perez better hurry, and he gets rid of it in short order. So Dugas taps back to the mound for the first out in the second. The kind of the prevailing thought or the message specifically by Mike Steele, the pitching coach, when the team got back from Orlando after losing 2 out of 3 to UCF is, hey, 7-2. 7-2. All we got to do, 7-2. They got 9 left, 6 of them here at home. And while I would agree with him, 7-2 would certainly put the Shockers on the extreme comfortable side of the bubble. 7-2 would involve a sweep against somebody. Winning 2 series and sweeping the other of the 3 remaining. Slice to right. Ramey running out of room, reaches over and dives out of play and made the catch. And for those old enough to know who Matt Brown is, that catch against Oklahoma that Brown had on ESPNU, this one may have topped it. Ramey, with apologies to Kevin Harlan, with no regard for human life, went headlong over the barrier, and what a catch he made.
There's a good chance we'll be seeing this play again on SportsCenter. That is highlight reel stuff from Jordan Ramey. And to hang on to it after the landing, very impressive stuff to retire Trey Vickers. Shocker fans gave him a round of applause after that play, and well deserved.
Wasn't too long ago, I think at some point last week was the anniversary of the Matt Brown catch. Alex Jackson is behind in the count, 0-2. Well, Jordan Ramey has had a season to forget offensively, but that may have made his season right there. If it didn't, it should have. You don't necessarily grow up dreaming of robbing foul balls from hitters, but you'll take them when they're that dramatic. Jackson down looking, and JT Perez, thanks in large part to Jordan Ramey, had an easy second inning.
Wichita State University is preparing today's students to become tomorrow's leaders. The Shock the World campaign is raising $25 million in private funds for a new home for the W. Frank Barton School on the Innovation Campus. Invest today in tomorrow's business leaders by calling 316-978-4076 or visit www.wichita.edu/shocktheworld.
I believe it was 12 years ago that Matt Brown made a leaping, tumbling catch over the barrier down the right field line against Oklahoma. But I got to believe that Jordan Ramey did him one better in almost exactly the same spot. Brown's was more of a leap, and then his rear end kind of made him tumble over the rest of the way. But Ramey knew from the beginning, Denning, that he was going to sell out and dive over the barrier head first.
Ramey had a lot further to run, that's for sure. He was set up in almost straightaway right field and was going full bore towards that padded wall. Not a whole lot of time to look up, not a whole lot of time to find his bearings, and complete dedication to the play, no regard for his own human life, and came away with an out.
So here we go to the third inning. It'll be the top of the order. Motice, who led off the game with a single. Cody Hoyer making things difficult on himself here in the early going. Has fallen behind consistently in the count, but to this point has made the pitches when he's had to. And Motice really had the base running move of the game so far, and it turned out to backfire. He was at first base when Joey Thomas hit a dribbler to shortstop that Trey Vickers left behind, and Motice, who was at first, tried to go all the way to third, and Jordan Boyer threw him out by an eyelash. Really changed the complexion of that inning and gave Cody Hoyer an out. There you see it, and Boyer, as Denning mentioned, just kind of sold out and all in one motion just flung it over to third, and aided in large part, as you mentioned at the time, Motice tumbling headfirst slide. Shallow right, Ritter with a long run and not able to get it. Fell perfectly between Boyer and Ritter. Both had a long way to run.
The only place that Motice could have put this. Just took out the pitching wedge and lofts this one into shallow right field. Boyer almost no chance to get it going straight out. This was going to be Ritter if anyone caught it. And elected not to go for the dive with nobody out. Just plays it into a single and see if Cody Hoyer can work around yet another Cincinnati base runner.
And I don't think either Ritter or Boyer could have gotten a better jump.
A lot of times on a play like that, you'll hear the dugout yelling in on contact because the dugout obviously can read the trajectory of a baseball a lot better than an outfielder can, which has to go off of swing and sound. And I thought the Wichita State dugout was very vocal in letting Luke Ritter know, come in immediately.
And as so often happens, too, the corner outfielder, Denning, if you've got a pull side fly ball, your initial reaction is he hit it well.
Step back.
Yeah.
Almost immediately. And that's going to be probably the course of action that serves you best in 75% of scenarios. And so this is what makes this such a difficult play. But I thought Ritter got a decent jump. You could see there he paused, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. You have to read it.
Great block by Troutwine. So Hoyer looking for another ground ball. Thomas gave him one his first time up there. Hoyer having a hard time getting ahead in the count. A lot of 2-1, 3-1 situations that he's put himself in. Had Motice leaning a little bit, but not much of a lead. Struggling to come up with a 77 that I'm familiar with in the game of baseball. I'm sure there's a great story behind Joey Thomas' selection of 77. Barry Zito wore 75, so that was close. Zito probably had a good excuse. That was probably his spring training number, and he just kept it. So 3-1 again to Joey Thomas.
You have a big meaning behind your jersey number choice, or is it just kind of
Not much?
This one fits.
This one's fine, yeah. Two on, nobody out. Connor McVeigh up there after the first walk issued by Cody Hoyer. Well, you got Carlton Fisk with 72. You had Zito with 75. Jose Abreu, currently with the White Sox, he's 79. Come up with a 77 yet?
I'm working on it.
Well, you got some time because Mike Steele, the pitching coach, is going to come out and talk to Cody Hoyer. So that is exactly 2 base runners in each of the first 3 innings. 2 on, 1 out situation in the first. Weimer hit into a double play. 2 on, 2 out in the second. Ramey struck out looking. Keelan Kilgore looking for somebody to play catch with now. But this one, quite a bit more dire, even though it's early. 2 on, nobody out for 3, 4, and 5 in the lineup. So after a meeting on the mound, we are set for play again. Connor McVeigh, clean single into center his first time up, but he, like so many others, were able to work his way into a favorable hitter's count.
I have answers on 77.
Let's hear it.
Ivan Rodriguez wore it for 1 season, so that's a pretty good catcher for Joey Thomas to model himself after.
Not bad, not bad.
And another is Ducky Joe Medwick of the Gas House Gang.
Okay. And I'm just speculating here, if Joey Thomas wanted 7 in honor of Pudge Rodriguez, too bad. Scott Guggens, the head coach, has number 7.
That's right.
So try again.
Todd Butler gave up his 22 this year. Went to number 9 so that Mason O'Brien could have the number that has been passed down through the O'Brien family.
So as so often happens after a meeting on the mound, pitcher mysteriously finds a strike zone. There's Todd wearing number 9 this year. So we'll see if the pep talk by Mike Steele translates into the first out of the inning. There he is on the far right on the bucket. Oh, 0-2 to McVeigh. Emergency swing. It's still 0-2. By the way, this is the first season of the extended nets beyond each dugout, which is a tremendous idea. That may or may not have saved a spectator on that previous emergency hack by Connor McVeigh. Ball was going to go into the stands at a high rate of speed. Bouncer to second, should be 2, 4, 3 double play. Second double play that Cody Hoyer has induced. And now he's 1 pitch away from yet again, Denning, working out of trouble.
He's come up with the pitches when he's absolutely needed to. And this was a really good hitter in McVeigh, who he gets to bounce into a tailor-made double play. Obviously leads Boyer right to the second base bag. He's able to plant his feet and make an accurate throw over to Genesta, but still 1 big out to get. If Hoyer can navigate through this, got to feel like he's got something up his sleeve through the first 3 innings.
As you saw in the replay, Boyer was playing up the middle anyway, so he was already in the neighborhood. So 2 outs for Weimer, who ended the first with a double play. Hit 1 right at Bohm. Took a shot at right field, 0-1.
Maybe the message should be good things happen when you're ahead in the strike zone and ahead in the count. 0-2 against McVeigh, was able to induce somewhat weak contact and jumps ahead of Weimer.
Well, since the meeting with his pitching coach, he's done just that. And that one's raked foul, 0-2. So I think it's safe to say that Joey Weimer is in swing mode. Pitch out away from him. He was a little tardy on, and then that one he pulled foul. In the air to left. Jackson with just enough room, and Cody Hoyer is living right through the first third of the game.
Introducing Dunkin's new cold brew coffee, steeped slowly in cold water for small batches with an ultra smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
Charles Koch Arena is the place where we gather as a community to compete against the very best. Now our game plan is to renovate Koch Arena by adding a new Student-Athlete Success Center. Your tax-deductible gift can help deliver that slam dunk. Join us at the level that is right for you. Donate online at wichita.edu/shocktheworld.
Shane Dennis and Denning Garrick back with you here at the ballpark. And Denning, in spite of the 8-7 league record for Cincinnati, they're just a .219 hitting team inside the league. And if Wichita State should happen to go on and win this game, they will look back at the first 3 innings against Cody Hoyer and absolutely kick themselves all the way back to the hotel.
And Cody Hoyer will wonder how he got through 3 innings without allowing a run. He has been shaky at best, just 32 strikes among his 59 pitches through the first 3 frames, and really it was a lot worse than that prior to the McVeigh and Weimer at-bats. It's been a struggle, but a couple of huge double plays, and the fences being about a foot further on the Weimer fly ball has proved to be the difference.
So 8-9-1 in the order against JT Perez, who had a very quick and easy second inning. Boyer got tied up and shoots one into the bleachers on the right side.
That's another Chick-fil-A foul ball.
Jordan Boyer is a .421 hitter against left-hand pitching this year. And about mid-April, Todd Butler decided that Boyer's pronounced splits would cost him some at-bats against righties. Grounds one to Bremner. So he's handled a couple of chances flawlessly. So 1 out for Travis Young.
A couple of guys have gotten the platoon treatment, I think, for Wichita State. Dayton Dugas most notably in the outfield, who has crushed left-handed pitching so far this year, getting most of his chances against southpaws, but same applies maybe to Travis Young.
Yeah, Dugas, to Denning's point, .395 hitter before that ground ball back to the pitcher in his previous at-bat. But he, like Boyer, below 200 against righties. McVeigh was playing in to begin with, so that turns into an easy play for him. And after a rocky start, JT Perez has retired the last 7, accounting for 8 outs.
Not much hard contact either. Ritter's single was a little looper out in the shallow right center, then of course the error, and those are the 2 base runners. I would say the hardest hit ball for Wichita State is probably Troutwine's fly out to the warning track and right.
Ritter took care of any drama as far as his hitting streak is concerned in his very first at bat. Single to right center. He has hit an 18 straight. And we told you after the 18th, he would become the 8th player with a 20-game, the 18th player with a 20-game hitting streak or better in the history of Shocker baseball. If he can get to 20, he'd join Casey Gillespie, Brandon Green, Mike Lansing, Joe Carter, and Jimmy Smith. That's a strike in there, 3-1. So you got to hit in 20 straight just to be in a tie for 13th on the all-time Shocker list. Look like a gift.
3-0, yeah. Anytime I can get on a list with Mike Lansing and Joe Carter, though, I'll take it, I think. Good company to be in. I want to say it was Ryan Tinkham who had the last extended hitting streak for Wichita State. 21?
21. 3 years ago, you're right. Ritter, to put it in perspective, is exactly halfway to second place on the best hitting streak list. Phil Stevenson hit in 47 consecutive in 1981. JT Perez has set down 8 consecutive Shocker hitters.
Next up, Griffin.
Become a part of history at Wichita State University by helping us complete X Stadium. A new 10,000 square foot performance facility will give our baseball, softball, tennis, and golf student athletes the strength and conditioning training space they need. Your tax-deductible gift will help us knock it out of the park. Join us at the level that is right for you. Donate online at wichita.edu/shock the world.
We're scoreless heading to the fourth. Both pitchers have gone about it in vastly different ways. Cody Hoyer's scattered the 3 hits in his 4 hits in his 3 innings, walking 1, hitting 1, and after allowing back-to-back base runners to start the bottom of the first, JT Perez has settled in very nicely. So you hope that Cody Hoyer will find something that clicks here and allows him to retire 4, 5, 6 in a row and get a little confidence.
Hasn't exactly been your traditional Friday night pitcher stool, of course, with Hoyer allowing his fair share of base runners, but you got to figure if he can keep throwing up zeros, this Wichita State offense, which has been so good throughout the entire 2018 season, will find a way to produce a couple of runs to support him.
Cole Murphy, 6'6" left-hand batter. Hit one to the moon that Grayson Genista gathered in when it finally came down. Murphy's got a little Adam Dunn look to him, both in stature and the way he stands at the plate and the way he swings and misses.
Adam Dunn did a lot of the 3 true outcomes: home runs, walks, and strikeouts. And that pop-up from Murphy his first time up, I think, was pretty indicative of the type of swings he's going to take, where it's going to be trying to elevate a baseball.
Well, he's had more than half of his hits go for extra bases, 6 doubles and 6 homers. He has 43 strikeouts and 114 at-bats. And his batting average is below his weight. One out. And you and I were talking between innings, but certainly bears repeating on the air. There are a lot of these guys, at least statistically, Denning, that you can get ahead of and then don't necessarily have to throw another strike to, although this comeback fastball was a beauty.
Helps to have a guy 6'6". That's definitely in there below the belt, but nicely spotted from Cody Hoyer as he tries to find a rhythm a little bit, and this is a good part of the order to do it against.
And in that 2-seamer that he starts on Cole Murphy's hip, it takes a lot of courage to throw that, because you literally are starting it either between the hitter and the plate or at the hitter, depending on how much you can get it to move. But move that one did.
And it's running towards the barrel. If you happen to miss by an inch or two on your spot away instead of miss a little bit in and hit the guy, all of a sudden that fastball is leaking back out over the middle of the plate.
Santiago with base hit his first time up there. Breaking ball stayed up, but Hoyer lived to tell about it.
It's that kind of movement, which is why a lot of right-handed pitchers don't throw right-on-right changeups, just because the natural pitch movement takes it to the hitter's barrel path. Typically, you want to be moving away from that, but you can spot anything, you can make it work.
That one's belted hard into left, and Jackson has to play it on a hop. Santiago has a 2-hit night. So that foils the effort by Hoyer to have a 1-2-3 fourth inning. I'll bring up Bremner, who struck out looking his first time up there. Bremner was up there with 1 on and 1 out, and Hoyer locked him up for his first of 3 strikeouts looking. You were talking about throwing right-on-right change-ups, and the ball's not necessarily supposed to go into the barrel. And it's a little bit like the two-seam fastball to lefty in that you have to have this courage that not only will the pitch do what it's supposed to do, but in the change-ups case, you got to know that the hitter's sold out looking for a fastball, and you'll get away with maybe a lack of command, and the speed you've taken off of it will do the trick.
Yeah, we talked about this a lot, but the context of any given pitch is maybe the most important thing out of anything. Is what's a hitter looking for? Can you disrupt his timing? If he's looking for something, it doesn't take a great offering if it's something else to get away with it. And it helps if you can throw any pitch with conviction and just really believe in it.
Even if it's a little unorthodox, like you said, right-on-right changeup. So Hoyer back in hot water again. It's 3-0. He's just had the 1 walk, but we've had a lot of long counts. And Bremner came into this hitting just 203. So 2 on for Treg Haberkorn, center fielder. He was hit by a pitch. It was an offering he had no opportunity at all to get out of the way of. It was a heat seeker. So Hoyer's pattern of having at least 2 base runners in every inning will now continue. The difference, though, was a strikeout of Cole Murphy to start the inning. So that keeps him with an opportunity to get out unscathed yet again. But I'm sure, as you would agree, Denning, eventually you play with fire long enough, you are going to get burned. Your luck's going to run out.
Cody's the guy who has enough stuff to get out of these jams, but you put yourself in them consistently enough and you're bound to get hurt by one. And thankfully right now he's down towards the bottom part of this order, which, as we've talked about quite a bit, doesn't have a whole lot of hits in it. But I think Mike Steele, Todd Butler, and the entire Wichita State staff was hoping that Cody would settle down and really give them some length here on a Friday afternoon, set up the bullpen for the rest of this weekend.
Tried to stealing out at second base with Trey Vickers. And he's certainly not trending toward a long outing in this game. It's 72 pitches already with 1 out here in the 4th. So now he has rolled 2 double play balls, and if he could get one here within the next couple of pitches, it would kind of get him back on track. But he's been in this mode really from the start of the game, laboring out there.
It's incredible how important the second hitter of this game was, with Thomas's ground ball that might have been a double play, instead turned into a big out on the base pass, and just the first of several chances that Cincinnati has squandered.
0-1 to Haberkorn. Kilgore back up and moving in the shocker pen.
And I'm not sure Mike Steele and Todd Butler want Cody Hoyer to face Mo Tice again. Left-handed hitter, he'd be seeing Hoyer for the third time in 4 innings if it happens to come in this 4th frame.
Right underneath his hands, that was a big pitch. 1-2.
Abercorn ended up leaning way out over the plate, and he is just the latest in a long line of Cincinnati hitters who have had issues with John Ausmus's strike zone. Cole Murphy had a lot of words for Ausmus as he walked away after his punch out.
2-2. Hoyer also is on a personal 4-game losing streak that he would desperately like to shed. Started the season 5-0. Pulled foul, still 2-2.
Doesn't seem like he's had that killer pitch. Hasn't had the really good sinking slider. The fastball hasn't really exploded out of the hand. The 3 strikeouts, as you mentioned, have been looking, but a couple of them were really up towards the top of the strike zone and probably not where he wanted to put it.
Yeah, not the usual zip that we've seen on his pitches. That one hit him.
It's hit Habercorn twice now, and both times with fastballs, where I imagine it was that 2-seamer that he's trying to work towards the inner part of the plate and just never came back. And Cody has just not looked comfortable today.
A pitcher with not much feel for his pitches, Cody Hoyer. So now the base is loaded. Jordan Ramey, who was a strikeout victim his first time up there, that dropped him to 1 for 19 this year with 11 strikeouts. And this may be a first for me because back-to-back outings where Cody Hoyer has either not given up a hit last Friday or not given up a run this Friday. And it will happen again as Keelan Kilgore will inherit a bases loaded 1-out situation here in the 4th. Cody Hoyer, a frustrating outing here to start this series.
Introducing Dunkin's new cold brew coffee, steeped slowly in cold water for small batches with an ultra-smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
Keelan Kilgore finds himself inheriting a mess. Bases loaded, 1 out. Not unlike his outing that he inherited a week ago. He pitched twice in the UCF series, and he pitched in the game that Cody Hoyer started, and Hoyer didn't have much command last Friday inning, but Keelan Kilgore didn't have much command in the game that he entered in the opener against UCF either. He gave up a hit, a couple of walks, 4 runs as it turned out. And whatever it was in Orlando was catching. because no Shocker pitcher commanded the strike zone. Hopefully Kilgore changes that tenor here this time around.
Those 2 outings against the Knights raised Kilgore's ERA more than double of what it was entering that series. It's now up to 2.70, still very good, of course, but he was at 1.31 entering that series down in Orlando. Here, just trying to limit the damage. Bases loaded, 1 out. Ramey coming to the plate, who is already the star of this ball game so far with his catch earlier in the second.
Kilgore in there for the 19th time. For the most part over the last month, he's been really good out of the pen. Ramey tried to ambush his fastball that was tailing away, and nothing in 1. Not a bad idea.
Shows you how much that Todd Butler wants this game, that he's going to Keelan Kilgore in the 4th with a starter who had not given up a run yet.
That was a similar situation last Friday, Denning, in that Hoyer hadn't given up a hit, and the bases were loaded in that situation, and Todd had seen enough a week ago. A little different here tonight that he'd given up some hits, but no runs. This should be worth 1. And Young dropped it. Everybody safe. Travis Young couldn't have had it hit more right at him, and he just dropped it. There was no play anywhere, and he knew it, but he just failed to catch it.
Well, I think that was on the transfer.
Well, Todd Butler is going to ask about it. It was awfully quick. And I'm not sure how Todd Butler is going to be able to talk anybody out of this one, but he's going to try.
The only way this gets reversed is if the umpires meet and somebody had a better look at it, but upon first glance, this looked like Travis squeezes it, and as he's bringing the glove down to transfer into his throwing hand, that's when the ball comes loose.
Top of the order, second baseman, Kyle Volkowitz.
Yeah, I think that's on the transfer, but
pretty close.
We're about to get into NFL catch rules here and the interpretation of what is a catch. Did he make a baseball move? It's hard to say.
Well, whatever. The Shockers reap what they sow because they have given Cincinnati one chance right after another. And this is just a frustrating tenor of this game. It's first game of a 9-game homestand, the final 9 games of the season. It's kind of now or never for the Shockers if they want to make a move in the league. The weather's perfect. You got all these things lining up in the Shockers' favor, and the first 3+ innings have landed with a thud. That will be out number 2, and another run scores. So Motai's sacrifice fly to center, almost in exactly the same spot that Travis Young was ruled to have dropped the fly ball by Jordan Ramey. So I guess in some ways, Denning, if this inning ends or the half inning ends 2-0, Shockers in some ways will be kind of fortunate, but at the very least will feel like they're still a part of this game. But their offense now has to crank it up against JT Perez. They haven't had a base runner since the first. But first things first, Joey Thomas, 2 on, 2 out, 2 in.
I'm not sure fortunate will be the overarching theme that Todd Butler is harping on in the dugout after this frame. I imagine there will be some long talks, not only with his fielders, who have now committed 2 errors, the pitching staff, which has had problems throwing strikes, and the hitters, which haven't done much of anything against Perez. It's been a rough 3.5 innings to start this series.
Double steal. Cincinnati is, after 3 frustrating innings, putting the squeeze on the Shockers here in the fourth. A one-out single, a walk, a hit batter. Then Kilgore came in. Ramey hit what looked like was going to be a sacrifice fly to center, which was dropped. And that one's going to bring in likely 2 more. Joey Thomas has made it a 4-run Bearcat 4th inning. So 3 of the 4 runs charged to Cody Hoyer, who left technically after not giving up any, but all the inherited runners that Kilgore has faced have scored, including one of his own. And those 3 innings of frustration, I suppose, now in the rear view for Cincinnati as they have struck for 4 here in the 4th.
Shane, I think you said it best. You reap what you sow. Wichita State kept putting themselves in positions like this, and now they have paid the price for it.
And that'll be an extra base hit over the head of Jackson, who doesn't exactly play it perfectly. A play at the plate. Vickers' strong throw, not in time. 5-0. McVeigh doubled over the head of Jackson, and Thomas scores all the way from first. And Cincinnati is fired up in that third base dugout.
Jackson just doesn't play this well off the wall. He gets too close to it. It ricochets back over his head. And that was all that Googans needed in the third base coach's box to send the runner. Thomas, the relay was executed well after that. Very good throw from Vickers right to Troutwine, who tried to dive and apply the tag, but it was just late.
Weimer's the 9th man to bat in the inning. The one thing that Wichita State is finding out, and to some degree the Shocker fans are finding out, in moving to the American, you darn sure better play a complete game or close to it if you want to have a chance to win the majority of them.
Can't sleepwalk through 3 innings.
No, you can't. And
sure.
It's kind of been mystifying that Wichita State, their overall numbers are good. They're one of the best hitting teams in the conference. Team ERA is 3.89 overall. That's plenty good. But boy, they have picked one facet of their game in most of the games this year in the conference that have absolutely failed to show up. And sometimes more than one. And that has really killed them.
Saw a quote from Alec Boehm the other day that said, when we pitch well, we don't seem to hit well. And when we put up runs, we don't seem to pitch it particularly well. It just seems like it's been one or the other when it comes to conference play. And then you get into the midweeks, it's like they can flip a switch and kind of play free and easy. And it's almost looked like 2 different teams playing on Tuesdays versus playing on Friday nights.
Sure has. Runner goes to third. Troutwine had little chance, and Boehm actually did well to keep it from going into left field. 3 steals in the inning, a walk, a hit batter, and an error. And the Shockers are kind of teetering on the brink here, even though we're only in the 4th inning.
Well, there hasn't been much indication that they're capable of putting up 5 runs against JT Perez. So unless something changes in a hurry, this game could get out of hand.
So now the Bearcats have officially batted around. And Cole Murphy, who struck out to start the inning, is due up. And it's not as if, you talk about the midweek, how the flip seemingly gets switched. It's not like they're beating up on the Sisters of the Poor in the midweek. You mentioned it earlier. They beat Oklahoma State twice, beat Oklahoma about a month ago. They played and beaten some good non-conference teams, but boy, they've been in some kind of tailspin once the American play started. And to your point earlier, that loss that they had against Tulane, and Bohm's quote talking about pitching and hitting, and one hasn't worked. They had 7 errors in that game, which was flirting with a program worst ever. So it hadn't been one thing, it's been another. And the Shockers have been inside the conference. This should do it. And mercifully, the inning comes to a close. Cole Murphy makes 2 of the 3 outs, but the Bearcats bring up 5 runs in the 4th.
Wichita State University is Shocker Nation. We exceed expectations, push boundaries, seize opportunities, and move boldly ahead. We are student-centered and innovation-driven. It's who we are. Our vision is simple but powerful. Create, innovate, collaborate, and celebrate. With one unifying purpose: to shock the world.
Now the Shockers got some work to do. Still plenty of time left to do it, but a tough hombre in JT Perez, who's retired the last 8 men that he's faced, and it's accounted for 9 outs. Grayson Genesta will lead it off. He's the last guy to have reached. That came 2 batters into the first inning. So in the 4th inning, 5 runs, 4 of them unearned. And the Shockers trying to do the best they can to erase an ugly start. Genesta, Bowman, Troutwine against JT Perez.
Can't get them all back at once, especially against this guy. It will be a case of putting together quality at-bats one after another, trying to wear down Perez and get into that Cincinnati bullpen, which has been a little shaky this year, just due to some injuries that have cut into the depth quite a bit.
Yeah, they do not, if they had their druthers, they do not want to go to the bullpen. They really ride their starting pitchers. And JT Perez has been a horse this year. 11 starts, 71 and a third innings, including that complete game we talked about.
Gone 5 innings in every start this year. So it is tough to get him out before that, even when he has had his struggles, most notably the start against Tulane, and then most recently against Kansas. He is still good to get you 15 outs just about every time that he goes out there.
Well, he came into this inning only having thrown 39 pitches, so this truly is a tall mountain to climb for Wichita State. And Genesta couldn't quite squeeze it up the middle, and safe at first. Boy, that would have absolutely broken the Shockers' hearts as Motais went diving into shallow center field. And if Santiago squeezes that, you're left to do not much else but roll your eyes. But Shockers do get the base runner.
It was going to be a bang-bang play. I'm not sure if Genesta was able to beat it out. How about the play from Motais, though, ranging up the middle, and to get rid of this as quick as he does. Very impressive stuff. I think Grayson may have beat this out, but it was going to be close. Maybe not.
Bang-bang, you're right, but boy, that should have been caught. Santiago, it looked like from that angle, had it off the top of the turf. But at any rate, that is a scratch single for Grayson Genesta. In the only other threat the Shockers had, Bohm worked Perez into a full count, then wrapped into a 6-4-3 double play. Picture perfect night for baseball. not a breath of wind. Temperature in the 70s. Bohm went after a high offering from Perez, 1-1. Bohm doesn't offer out pitches out of the strike zone very often.
And Perez typically doesn't work up there just because his fastball is not the kind of velocity that can blow you away up top.
And this looks like it's going to be another double play. 6-4 and a 3. Second one turned by Cincinnati, both at the expense of Alec Bohm. 2 away.
Been that kind of evening so far for Wichita State. Able to get the leadoff man aboard, get their best hitter up there in Bohm, and for the second straight time, pretty routine on the 6-4-3. They haven't tested Bremner much. He's had 3 chances, and they've all been fairly tailor-made.
Yeah, they've been candy hops. Throughout this 5-10 start in the American, Todd Butler has been pretty peeved at the lack of Friday victories, quote-unquote Friday wins. Now, most every weekend series starts on a Friday, the exception being Easter weekend when Wichita State was at ECU. That actually started on a Thursday. The Shockers won that Thursday game 14-3, but by definition, Todd is right. Shockers have not won inside the conference on a Friday yet. But I think to his point, Denning, is how about we rough up their Friday guy every now and then? And it just hasn't come to pass so far.
I think it's all about being ready to play. When you get off the plane or the bus or whatever and you show up, you have your practice day, and then can you be locked in from pitch 1 of a weekend series? Good teams can. And Todd has always said that Fridays and Sundays, the most important things in a series. Can you take game 1, can you set the tone, and then on Sunday, can you either avoid a sweep or can you get a sweep? And Wichita State has not fulfilled the first part of that bargain. They have struggled on the Friday nights this year.
After the ECU series, they lost a Friday game to Tulane 19-4. They got swept by UConn in a doubleheader to lead off that series. Lost at Houston 3-1, lost at UCF 9-5. So it's been a myriad of problems and something we've talked about. Shocker offense, defense, and timely hitting have all taken their turns of going dry. This one hit a long way to right center field, but Ramey's there, struggled a little, made the catch, and again, JT Perez has faced the minimum in the Shocker 4th inning.
Introducing Dunkin's new cold brew coffee, steeped slowly in cold water for small batches with an ultra-smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
Charles Koch Arena is the place where we gather as a community to compete against the very best. Now our game plan is to renovate Koch Arena by adding a new student-athlete success center. Your tax-deductible gift can help deliver that slam dunk. Join us at the level that is right for you. Donate online at wichita.edu/shocktheworld.
Alex Siegel hasn't had a lot of opportunities lately. He's battled some issues with his throwing hand. And Siegel has only pitched a couple of times in league play, and when he has, he's only registered 1 out. But I would imagine he will have his opportunity this evening, Denning, to eat up some innings if he's effective in a 5-0 game, and they get Kilgore out of there after 15 pitches and a couple unearned runs.
I think a multifaceted move here from Wichita State. For one, trying to save Keelan Kilgore in case they need to use him again later in the weekend. And another, seeing what Alex Siegel can offer you on the weekend. Pitched last weekend against UCF, as you mentioned, though, just for that 1 out. Was a strikeout that he recorded, but A guy who at the beginning of this season, this Shocker coaching staff was convinced was going to play a role either as a relief guy who was capable of going long stretches or potentially even a midweek starter. So there is a chance, if he is making his way back to 100% health, that he can really help this pitching staff.
He looked pretty good in the outing that he had at Kansas in their most recent midweek game. That was a runaway, won by Wichita State 14-5. Pitched the 9th inning up in Lawrence. High expectations for him. He's been injury plagued throughout his stay at Wichita State, which has been brief, but when he's right, he can be really good.
Leading off Cincinnati fifth, first baseman Eric Santiago.
So a 5 spot in the 4th. A little bit of everything for Cincinnati in an inning where they sent 10 to the plate. Santiago's yet to be retired. He started things last inning with a, at the time, seemingly harmless 1-out single. Often this season, Denny, it's been said that the strength of Wichita State's team is obviously its core. They're old. A lot of guys that have played together a lot of games. And first month and a half of the season, the biggest thing was that there's no panic and no quit in this bunch. And while I would agree, that certainly will be tested tonight. Not that they'll roll over and quit, but they're, again, as we mentioned, you're facing their number one guy. You spotted them 5 runs. It's not like this is a 1 or 2 run game. You got a pretty big hill to climb, and now we're mid-game, so these guys will probably be talking to each other and say, all right, let's show each other what we're made of.
If there's going to be fight, it needs to start pretty soon. And Wichita State has had a habit of letting some leads kind of snowball and turn into games that where no matter how much fight you're showing, it's not going to matter when the deficit is too great. Of course, the Tulane game comes to mind immediately, but you're down 5-0. It doesn't really matter how early in the ball game it is. You got to flip a switch or turn it on or whatever you want to say. You got to get ready to go.
Center fielder Fred Haberkorn.
And just play good baseball. That's a nice way to start. Shockers got away with it for 3 innings. Bearcats left 4 in the first 3, but plated 5 in the 4th. Thanks to an error, 3 stolen bases. That's back-to-back hits by Bremner and now Haberkorn. And Bremner goes all the way to third base as the throw comes into second.
Jackson just hesitating with the baseball out in left field. Got to it in fairly good shape. Had the runner, Bremner, going first to third right in his face and ends up kind of pump faking. And honestly, if Haberkorn had thought about it, he likely would have had a chance to advance to second. That's a double clutch there, and just not Wichita State's evening at the moment.
No, it's not.
That's the kind of base running move that you see from a confident team. That's the aggressor who's willing to take chances, that has the upper hand.
Against a team that's frankly playing a little tight. Jordan Ramey may have set the tone for the evening on defense back in the second when he dove over the barrier down the right field line out of play to catch a foul liner by Trey Vickers. 0-2. And Ramey's also the guy that hit the ball to center field with the bases loaded and 1 out and no score last inning that Travis Young was deemed to have dropped. And that literally and figuratively kicked the door open for the Bearcats. They ended up with 5 last inning. Siegel got a badly needed strikeout of Ramey there. 2 down.
That's a Green Vision Group strikeout. Green Vision Group.
Well, to your point, Shane, I think, to be blunt about it, even though this was a scoreless tie through the first 3 innings, I think it's pretty fair to say that Cincinnati had outplayed Wichita State and that the Shockers were just kind of living on borrowed time unless they had figured things out. The top of the 4th inning was just a product of bad baseball eventually coming back to bite him. But big strike out there for Siegel. He still has one big out to get.
Well, I think you and I have been around long enough to know that the fact that Hoyer was so shaky in the first 3 innings, all the confidence was in the Cincinnati dugout. If they treat it the right way, and we talked about frustration that they didn't score, but they were the ones really benefiting from the other team looking and acting shaky.
Your starter sets the tone.
Yeah.
You know, and it's doubly so on a Friday night. It sets the tone for the entire series. And a Friday night guy has to be willing to put his foot down and make a stand at certain points. And that's just robbing Alex Siegel blind there. But it seemed like there was never that moment where Wichita State said, all right, enough is enough. This is where it ends.
Haberkorn, I think, was resigned to the fact that he wanted to get into a rundown situation, but Siegel didn't see him, and Haberkorn steals second standing up. 4 stolen bases for a team that had 56 all year. Siegel gets Mo Tice to go fishing, and a badly needed 0 put up on the board as Alex strikes out 2 in the inning.
Green Vision Group, strikeout.
Introducing Dunkin's new cold brew coffee, steeped slowly in cold water for small batches with an ultra smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
Charles Koch Arena is the place where we gather as a community to compete against the very best. Now our game plan is to renovate Koch Arena by adding a new student-athlete success center. Your tax-deductible gift can help deliver that slam dunk. Join us at the level that is right for you. Donate online at wichita.edu/shocktheworld.
Halfway through here in Game 1 of a 3-game series. The Shockers in Cincinnati, their first meeting ever. It is also the first of 5 in a row on Shocker HD, WSUTV, and the first of 9 consecutive games at home, the final 9 home games of the year. And I guess it's better late than never that we got some good weather. There we see the extended schedule here on WSUTV. Tomorrow's game at 2. And then Oral Roberts, South Dakota State comes to town. That Sunday game, a reminder, 10:30. So either go to church Saturday night or set
Breakfast
your alarm
baseball
or something.
Yeah.
So again, Shockers with some work to do halfway through here, down 5-0. It'll be Dugas, Vickers, and Jackson. This trio went 1, 2, 3 in the second. And a ringing base hit into right center field off the bat of Dayton Dugas. He continues to roast left-hand pitching. Dugas came in just a shade under 400. He is 1 for 2 tonight.
Shocker hitters have been fairly aggressive early in counts against Perez. They've been willing to offer it stuff in the strike zone early in counts, and Dugas got himself a first pitch strike, which you're going to see a lot of from Perez, especially so with a 5-0 lead.
Here's Vickers. He was robbed, in the true sense of the word, by Ramey in right field. That was the diving catch I was telling you about, that he dove over the barrier and onto the berm in just about the same spot that Matt Brown did it a dozen years ago. Here it is again. This occurred in the second inning. Vickers a little cue shot to second. That is 3 double plays served up by JT Perez. And as Denning mentioned, the Bearcats, while their fielding percentage nothing to write home about, they know how to roll up a double play.
The team that had turned 45 entering play today, and they have made these look pretty smooth with a guy at shortstop in Bremner who hadn't been a part of any of them, has helped turn all 3 and has squelched Wichita State's rallies each time they tried to get started.
Alex Jackson was a strikeout victim his first time up there. Again, this is his 5th start of the season in left field. Start number 11 altogether for him. With all the left-hand batters the Shockers have on their roster, they were bound to have to play more than just Grayson Genesta. And Jackson was the guy. Six runs batted in, 11 hits on the season for Alex. Same 2 teams tomorrow. Tyler Davis and Nathan Kroger. A pair of right-handers will go at it. So an uncharacteristic walk by JT Perez. And that'll save an at bat for Jordan Boyer.
And probably not what Perez wanted to do with 2 outs and nobody aboard in a left-on-left situation, but Wichita State will gladly take the charity. How can they come through with a 2-out hit, try and put together a rally?
As we mentioned earlier, Boyer part of a platoon system now at second base. More regularly when a right-hand pitcher starts, it's Luke Ritter playing second, bumping Jordan out of the lineup. In the April 27th game that he sat at UCF, that snapped a streak of 76 consecutive starts. So with JT Perez out there, that means Duga and Boyer are in there. Instead, though, of Duga playing right, he's DHing, and Luke Ritter got his 7th start of the year in right field.
Plenty of versatility for Todd Butler to shuffle things around. And some freshmen who have impressed in limited stints off the bench as well, who've kind of been biding their time, trying to earn some reps.
Boyer chased strike 3, and the Shockers are scoreless through 5.
Now let's head into the 5th Star Wars movie, the most iconic scene.
Become a part of history at Wichita State University by helping us complete X Stadium. A new 10,000 square foot performance facility will give our baseball, softball, tennis, and golf student athletes the strength and conditioning training space they need. Your tax-deductible gift will help us knock it out of the park. Join us at the level that is right for you. Donate online at wichita.edu/shock the world.
It's basically been one inning that was the undoing of Wichita State, even though Denning, I think you could argue, it was a slow burn after the first inning. The Shockers got away with some somewhat sloppy baseball throughout the first 3, but while their offense couldn't respond to JT Perez things dried up for Wichita State when it came to short-circuiting Cincinnati rallies. And
Leading off the Bearcats, 6.
as so often has happened this year, Wichita State pitched in with a little help themselves.
The defensive miscues are what's been really surprising for a unit that was among the best in program history a year ago and returned virtually the entire core of that unit. It's just been kind of interesting and frustrating to watch that this defensive unit has struggled.
Alex Siegel tossed a scoreless 5th. He'll get the heart of the Cincinnati order here, 2, 3, and 4. Joey Thomas, 1 out of 2. He had the big blow in the 4th, if there was one. 2-run base hit among the 5 runs scored. Hard to predict what would have happened after if Travis Young in center was deemed to have caught that fly ball. That would have been a sacrifice fly, but it was ruled a drop. Then Thomas drove in 2 more after everybody moved up 90 feet. Good pitch by Siegel. That's his 3rd consecutive strikeout. But boy, that just gave the game a bad feel when Travis Young dropped that ball in center field. A normally sure-handed center fielder.
And I don't think you're wrong at all in saying that it was Thomas's single that kind of turned that inning from bad to worse. If you can limit the damage to 2-0, you feel all right about things. But that was a big base hit right after the double steal had been executed, and that seems to make it even more of a gut punch.
Connor McVeigh's had a good first half to this game. Single double, steal himself, an RBI.
Even with the 5 runs, Cincinnati has left 8 on base, so it very well could be a lot worse than it is, but that's a very little solace to Wichita State at the moment.
Especially not getting much going against lefty ace JT Perez.
It's now 19 strikeouts in 11 innings this season for Siegel. When he's been healthy and out there, he's been racking them up.
And there's something deceptive about his delivery, obviously, to the hitters. He's got good stuff, not great stuff, but he's been hard to time when he's been healthy. Two down. So Siegel trying to bring a little sense of calm to Wichita State when they're out on defense. That's a somewhat modest 4 in a row set down by Siegel, but that's exactly what Cody Hoyer was looking for in his first 3 innings. Just some semblance of normalcy, but just never came.
The longest stretch that Hoyer had was 3 in a row retired. He got the last 2 men in the 3rd inning and then got Murphy on strikes to start the 4th. Never was able to get into any kind of a rhythm as far as retiring guys consistently, and as a result was working out of the stretch a lot. We know he started the game out of the stretch, then went back to the windup, but just couldn't settle in.
Weimer's 0 for 2 with a walk. And because this is the first game of the series and that they got Kilgore out of there after 15 pitches, you might be looking at your guy who is the most likely candidate of multiple innings to save everybody else for the rest of the weekend. To say nothing of the fact that he's been pretty darn effective.
Cincinnati, not the only team that's a little shorthanded as far as the pitching staff goes, with Tommy Barnhouse, and Connor Lungwitz both on the shelf for the time being. Any innings you can get out of your bullpen, you take them. There's that big leg kick from
That's
Weimer.
a slow pitch softball hack if I've ever seen one. High leg kick and trying to drop and drive.
Chopped it right into his own on-deck circle.
Alex Siegel's strikeout parade continues as we head to the bottom of the sixth. The Shockers need to get to work.
Introducing Dunkin's new cold brew coffee, steeped slowly in cold water for small batches with an ultra smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
Through the first 5 innings of this one, JT Perez has thrown 66 pitches and has scattered those 3 hits. We knew he'd be tough, and he has been as advertised. So it'll be 9-1-2 for the Shockers in the 6th, and a quick-moving ball game. The Shockers had an implosion in 1 inning, but it was a big one. And since he leads 5-0, as Travis Young comes to the plate, start the 6th rather.
Certainly hasn't helped matters that Wichita State has 3 hits, and in each of those 3 innings, a double play has followed either immediately or 1 batter later, and has erased the leadoff runner in each case. So hard to get anything going when those twin killings are intermixed.
Young saw 1 pitch, his only other time up. Bounced out to McVeigh, third baseman. Shockers have been out hit 9-3. That one's hit well, but Habercorn going back. He reaches up, and another acrobatic catch turned in by a Bearcat outfielder. Well, one thing doesn't necessarily lead to another, Denning, but when you throw strikes and work quickly, your defense is more likely to make plays like these behind you.
I don't want to say this was as good as the Ramey catch, but it was right up there. That is maybe the hardest play for a center fielder. A ball hit right back over your head, and Habercorn ends up making that catch almost behind him, reaching back over his head and, of course, leaving the ground. But well struck from Travis Young. He was shallow and had to go straight back to make that play.
Sidearm soft stuff, catches the bottom of the zone, 0-1. So Young gave 1 a ride, but he's out number 1 in the 6th.
And if Habercorn doesn't catch that with Travis's speed, he's probably standing on third base. So a do-or-die play, and Cincinnati has done it all night.
Habercorn picked a bad night to make a great catch, if you want to make the catch of the night. And Luke Ritter has been the highlight of the evening so far for Wichita State. 2 hits and 3 tries, and he stays extremely hot, having hit in his 18th consecutive game.
The middle away approach that served Luke so well over this hitting streak. Of course, his base hit was to right center back in the first, this time just past the second base bag, and better swings for Wichita State over the last couple of innings, just not a whole lot to show for it.
We talked earlier about Wichita State having a stable full of potential draft picks come next month. You're looking at one of them. Of course, Alec Boehm is one. We talked about Hoyer and his 94-mile-an-hour fastball. He's on everybody's radar. But a guy that has kind of creeped on to people's is standing over there at first base. You got Ritter, who is versatile. An 18-game hitting streak cannot be ignored. Play a little outfield, play a little infield. Not going to kill you at either position. And while he wouldn't be a first day or a real high draft pick, Luke Ritter is proven to just be a pretty darn good baseball player.
It'll take a team that is convinced they know where to put him defensively, step one, and then step two, he's going to have to keep swinging the bat just because he doesn't necessarily profile at any one spot.
True.
That's just such a big part of the professional game. You feel like it's almost tailored against guys like Luke Ritter who don't jump off the page at you with the physical attributes. But listen, if you hit 330 at a high level in Division I, you're going to get plenty of looks, and you're going to get drafted for sure.
And if you do it in front of the right person, because
that's all it takes.
The Shockers routinely have played in front of a lot of high-profile either cross-checkers, scouting directors, GMs, assistants to GMs. You get just the right guy that likes you and sees you in that one game. And, of course, Ritter has put together 18 of them in a row now.
You know, it's interesting that we bring up Luke in that kind of profile against Cincinnati because the Bearcats recently had a guy like that, and Ian Happ, who's now with the Chicago Cubs, who basically just hit like crazy and didn't really have a defensive position.
2 on, 1 out for Bohm. Genista's been on there all 3 times. And so far, not all the news has been bad for Wichita State because in Tampa, the softball team has defeated the USF Bulls 2-0. So if Wichita State wins one more in the series, they will have caught USF. And if they sweep, the Shockers will have the American title all to themselves. So good job by Christy Bredbender and her bunch down there tonight.
How about Bailey Lang pitching the shutout and launching a home run as well to give Wichita State the ever-important first game of that series.
So the first real threat for the Shockers since the first. Bohm has twice hit into a double play, so he needs to find something he can elevate here, or at least sneak through the infield. He's twice hit one to Bremner, the shortstop. And in case you joined us late, because of injury, Dondre Bremner is playing shortstop for the first time this year. He's normally a first baseman.
You know, speaking of Bailey Lang and her two-way abilities, JT Perez was originally a two-way guy at Cincinnati. But as a hitter in his freshman season, he was 0 for 11 with 5 strikeouts, and they didn't let him around bats anymore after that.
We tried.
And that seemed to work out almost immediately with his sophomore season. He was unreal. Kind of regressed a bit last year, but has really bounced back in his final year in a Bearcat uniform.
Bohm with one swing of the bat could get the Shockers right back into this one. And I think he thought that was that one swing on that breaking ball that caught a lot of plate, but he fouled it back.
The Adrian Beltre swing down to one knee.
And how big does that Habercorn catch look now? After Ritter singled and Genista walked, Young was robbed to start the inning. Bohm came that close to hitting into 3 double plays. So the inning continues. The Shockers finally get a man to third base, the first time since Ritter was over there in the first. And now Troutwine. And I don't know what kind of boost this would necessarily give to Wichita State, but if Gunnar Troutwine could at least get a 2-out base hit and get the Shockers on the board, maybe, just maybe, they could breathe a sigh of relief and go to work thereafter. But the difference between 0 and 1 run on the board is bigger than you think.
That ground out from Bohm leaves Wichita State 0 for 7 now with runners on tonight. And it's interesting, like we talked about, it's not like Cincinnati has lit up the world. They're just 1 for 8 with runners in scoring position. But that one hit was huge. The 2-run single from Thomas, and Wichita State has helped him out with 2 defensive miscues.
And it should be pointed out, since the inning has continued and there's still 2 on there, Troutwine is, like Bohm, 1 swing away from not only getting the Shockers back into it, but this fairly sizable crowd. Something to shout about.
Perez throws a couple different looks at you out of the stretch. And it's not a traditional slide step versus straight to home plate. It's almost like he changes his entire delivery and how quick it is. And it really allows that fastball to get on you. There's the slower leg lift.
Troutwine was ready for it, but so was Ramey. And the Shocker frustration continues through 6 innings.
Introducing Dunkin's new cold brew coffee, steeped slowly in cold water for small batches with an ultra smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
Charles Koch Arena is the place where we gather as a community to compete against the very best. Now our game plan is to renovate Koch Arena by adding a new Student-Athlete Success Center. Your tax-deductible gift can help deliver that slam dunk. Join us at the level that is right for you. Donate online at wichita.edu/shocktheworld.
Opening game of a 3-game series here on WSUTV. Same 2 teams here tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Denning and I will have it for you. And Cincinnati, unless things change, Denning, will leave Wichita State to try to even up the series at 1 game apiece. Now, one bright spot has been that guy right there, Alex Siegel, doing a couple of scoreless innings after a disastrous 4th.
Siegel's done his part. It's the offense that hasn't held up their end of the bargain and had a chance in that bottom half of the 6th inning. Runners at the corners and 2 outs and a really good swing from Gunnar Troutwine, but as it seems like has been the case all evening, there was a Cincinnati defender right there, and Perez able to escape the jam unscathed.
Leading off the Cincinnati 7th, designated hitter Cole Murphy.
Cole Murphy's 0 for 3, so he's been locked out tonight. He's popped up, struck out, and actually made 2 outs in 1 inning. Struck out to start the 4th, flied to center to end it. Siegel almost hit him. So Cody Hoyer's struggles continued tonight. 3 1/3, 5 hits, 2 walks, 2 hit batters, 3 runs charged to him. He was actually taken out in a 0-0 game. And he loaded the bases, but at the time it was scoreless. Gunnar Troutwine, I think, is going to go out and take a piece out of Alex Siegel, the way he's started the 7th inning. So Hoyer gave up 3 runs, 1 earned. Kilgore in 2/3 of an inning kind of repeated his performance backing up Hoyer from last week. 2 hits, a walk, 2 unearned runs, and they got him out of there after 15 pitches. Siegel to this point, 2 innings, 2 hits, 4 strikeouts. Denning told you he's got a dizzying strikeout rate working here in his first season as a Shocker, but it's been interrupted a bit by injury. And he loses the left-hand batter, Cole Murphy, who came into the game a 193 hitter.
Clayton McGinnis is up and beginning to loosen down in the Wichita State pen as Siegel now into his 3rd inning of work. And of course, this is the longest that he has gone in quite some time. But as we mentioned earlier, especially on a Friday, if you can get outs from a guy and spare an arm or 2 down in the pen, you try and ride somebody as long as they're effective.
Siegel had that memorable outing on March 6th against SIU Edwardsville where he faced 9, retired 9, striking out 5, and only took 31 pitches to do it. And I think that whetted everybody's appetite at the time, thinking, well, we got something in this left-hander, but he just either hasn't been able to command the strike zone or stay healthy.
He had a potentially even more memorable outing his next time out against UT Arlington, when came on in relief, struck out the side, came back out for another inning, and walked the first 3 that he faced. So 6 hitters, nobody put the ball in play.
Little cue shot bunt out in front of the plate. Troutwine thought about going to second, took the out at first. Sacrifice 2-3. And an insurance run down there at second base. So Eric Santiago lays it down. That is sacrifice bunt number 5 for him on the year.
Cincinnati, not a team that plays small ball a whole lot. That is their 24th sacrifice bunt so far this season. And when you have a 5-0 lead, you kind of have the luxury of playing small ball just a little bit, trying to manufacture a run.
That shouldn't, anyway, get it done. Boyer looking up into the twilight, makes the catch. 2 away. Well, Cincinnati was coming in on a bit of a high. They swept Kansas last weekend after they stepped outside of the conference. Went to Oxford and lost to Miami of Ohio 7-2, though. So they are inching closer to going to 9-7 in league play. And this is a team that was picked to finish last, so been maybe the biggest surprise of all in the league. It was not unanimous, but close to it, that the league's voters thought Cincy would finish last. But they are currently tied for 4th with East Carolina, who we thought just a couple of weeks ago may have been poised to run away with this league, but they've come back down to earth, and Houston has pretty much lapped everybody.
Which makes it all the more impressive that Cincinnati took 2 of 3 against the Bearcats earlier this year. That was a really hot start to the season. They began 6-3 in conference play, took 1 of 3 against Tulane, 2 of 3 against Houston, and then swept Memphis. And so that was the point, I think, when everyone realized, okay, this Cincinnati team absolutely legit.
Every game from here on out will bring a lot of this scoreboard watching. Going to be a long run for Ritter, and can't make the play. Boy, it's been that kind of night for Wichita State. Habercorn just hit a parachute to the right on the line. And there have been a couple of highlight reel plays turned in by Cincinnati defensively, but the Shockers haven't been able to. And Ritter waves off the Shocker trainer, saying he's okay. But now it's 6-0.
Nothing that Ritter did wrong. This is a long run, had it in the glove the whole time, but as he's rolling over, his elbow collides with the turf, and it kicks the ball out of the webbing of his glove, in for a base hit and a 6-0 lead. Two almost catches that have changed the complexion of this game quite a bit.
Ramey's 0 for 3 officially. Before long, the Shockers going to be looking for a live rooster. Change their fortunes. Everything Cincinnati, almost everything, I was going to say everything they've touched has turned to gold. They had some scoring opportunities in the first 3 innings that they couldn't cash in on, but everything else has pretty much gone their way.
I think you kind of touched on this earlier, though, and I think you'd fall into the same camp of you make your own luck in baseball. And it's like you said, as a pitcher, if you throw strikes, you keep your defense engaged, you're going to get great plays behind you. And as an offense, if you don't strike out, put together competitive at-bats, put the ball in play, you're going to get your fair share of blue pits. Luck is a byproduct of doing things the right way. It's not a thing that just occurs. in most cases.
And I think, even though this is more subjective, I think along those same lines, you don't get to say or think, well, we've got a couple coming our way. Well, not if you don't deserve them necessarily, you know.
Still got to work for them.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the baseball gods may be watching over it and may even out in the long run, but you still have to put yourself in a position where those kind of plays and those kind of breaks are going to go your way.
The inning started with a 4-pitch walk to Cole Murphy. Ramey did go, but that ball was in the turf and turns into the second wild pitch of the inning. 2-2. Shockers will be down at least 6 going into the home half of the 7th. Dugas, Vickers, and Jackson due up. I figured JT Perez will go back out there for more. He's thrown 86 pitches in 6 scoreless innings. Ramey strikes out. That's 5 for Alex Siegel. But the Bearcats tack on one more.
Green Vision Group strike out. Green Vision Group.
Become a part of history at Wichita State University by helping us complete X Stadium. A new 10,000 square foot performance facility will give our baseball, softball, tennis, and golf student athletes the strength and conditioning training space they need. Your tax-deductible gift will help us knock it out of the park. Join us at the level that is right for you. Donate online at wichita.edu/shock the world.
Stretch time here at the ballpark. It's been all Cincinnati. Shane Dennis, Denning Garrick, WSUTV. Shockers have been out-hit, outscored, pretty much outplayed. JT Perez back out there for Cincinnati. He's thrown as many as 112 pitches this year. That's his high water mark. He has thrown at least 94 pitches in his last 5 starts. He is right at 86 right now. But as I've also so often said, Denning, it's not the number of pitches you throw, it's the number of pitches you throw under duress. There haven't been many of those thrown by Perez tonight.
Not a whole lot of high-stress innings, really. That bottom half of the 6th, about as close as it's come. Runners at first and third, 2 out in the line-out. He ended up needing 20 pitches to get through that frame, but that was just the second runner to even reach third base against him.
And Dugas sneaks one past the diving McVeigh, and he has led off the last 2 innings that he's come up there with base hits.
Dayton Dugas against left-handed pitching is just something we should all stop and appreciate, because he has ravaged it this entire season, and the best part about it is that he never waits around. If he gets a strike, he typically puts a good swing on it. Lined into right center field his first time up, and this time grounds it through the left side.
He is hitting .415 now against left-hand pitching. Season average up to .262 overall. Vickers has had a bit of a tough night. He's been robbed on a diving catch out of the ballpark, basically, by Ramey, and hit into a 4.63 and committed an error. Just the 5th hit registered by Wichita State. 2 by Ritter, 2 by Dugas, 1 by Genesta. Pitch to hit, and Vickers, all he could do was spoil it into the stands.
Vickers got off to that torrid start after coming back from the injury that forced him to miss the first 11 games of the season. Batting average was right around .375 for a large portion of his early return.
Hit one off of his foot, or at least he's trying to convince the home plate umpire of such. If John Osmus doesn't buy it, that's a double play. And that would be 4 double plays. Todd Butler's going to ask Osmus to ask for help. And I think the big key and the big giveaway is that Vickers never ran. But the odd Wichita State night continues as a 5-4-3 double play got Vickers by 85 feet. Well, Vickers made that one false step and may have given himself away. It's hard to tell there, but easy to see why John Osmus wasn't sold that it hit him. So that has been ruled a double play. Second one that Vickers is hit into, Bohm is hit into 2.
Another Chick-fil-A foul ball.
Tough to tell from that angle, but from all we've seen, I'd have to say it'd be tough to overturn. Alex Jackson shoots one back through the middle. He's on there for the second time.
I think the best you can go off of is just whether or not Vickers ran. That's typically what's going to give it away, and it's hard to, as a hitter, restrain yourself from instinct. And if you just ground the ball down to third base, your instinct isn't going to tell you to stay right at home plate. So, and I think on that first look that we got, you could see his foot kind of move a little bit on that initial contact, but it's just been a weird night all the way
You're right
around.
about that. Jordan Boyer 0 for 2. The Shocker offense in a nutshell tonight. There has been one inning where they've sent more than 4 to the plate. There have been 2 circus catches, one by this guy, one by Ramey, and 4 double plays through 7.
Introducing Dunkin's new cold brew coffee, steeped slowly in cold water for small batches with an ultra-smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
Alex Siegel's night is done. He went 3 pretty good innings in a ugly game. He threw 2 scoreless innings and allowed a run in the 7th. He'll turn it over to the curious case of Jacob Lindemann, freshman from Burlington, Wisconsin. Went first couple of months of the season without pitching at all. And then after a couple of pitchers from Wichita State, actually the 2 pitchers that are on the shelf right now, Tommy Barnhouse, Connor Lungwitz, came up lame. They burned the red shirt, and Lindemann made his debut on April the 17th. 3 scoreless innings against Central Arkansas, but then came back down to earth a bit. A week later at Kansas, gave up a couple of hits, walked 2, didn't retire any. So he has seen the entire spectrum of what it's like to be a college pitcher in 2 outings.
His job is simple, and that's to get outs. And in a 6-0 ball game, it's not the most glamorous of jobs, but it's important nonetheless. And for Wichita State, trying to buy as much time for their offense as possible, even though it has been a frustrating 7+ innings for the Bats so far.
One pitch, 1 strike to the leadoff man for the Bearcats. Kyle Motice has been busy. A couple of hits, sacrifice fly. Siegel struck him out to end the 5th. And he's going to be on there again. Motice with 3 singles. He came in the team's leading hitter at .305. Their second leading hitter didn't even play tonight. Manny Rodriguez is struggling with a hamstring. But Motice, 3 hits, a sacrifice fly, and he's on there to start the 8th.
Just the kind of solid senior leader that good teams are built around. He's pretty much your prototypical leadoff guy. Doesn't strike out much, walks a good amount, and puts a bat on a baseball.
Joey Thomas with what Denning and I agree was the big blow in the 4th inning. With 2 on, both in scoring position, he shot a ball to right field that plated both. And he jerks that one foul. 1 ball and 1 strike. So Joey Thomas came into the game at .262 hitter. But Wichita State, from the start, just couldn't really put the pressure on Cincinnati's hitters. They sent 9 to the plate in the first 2 innings. And virtually all of them saw a good amount of pitches and worked a count in their favor. A hit and run. And Motice didn't know where it was to begin with, but it was perfectly executed by Thomas and into the gap in right center long enough for Motice to go all the way to 3rd.
Boyer sold this really well. Boyer deked Motice at second base, went towards the second base bag, acting like he was covering, and forced Motice into a slide, and it still didn't matter. It's been that kind of night for Wichita State. Watch here, Motice goes in, pops up, even looks like he was ready to grab Boyer just to stop himself from sliding by the bag, and the ball was so deep into the gap, he's still able to cruise 1st to 3rd.
Well, on further review, I suppose what Boyer should have done is put the glove down on his foot to see if he would buy that the ball was in the glove and would stay on the bag at second. Maybe next time. So Lindemann has been greeted rudely from Motice and Thomas. Now McVeigh, who's also had a good night at the plate, 2 out of 4. 12 hits now for Cincinnati. Doubled up Wichita State in the hit column.
Double barrel action for Wichita State down in their bullpen, including normal midweek starter Preston Snavely, one of the right-handers who was up and throwing.
He missed out on a chance to pitch last week, or earlier in this week rather, with a rain out. Shockers had a game canceled at Kansas State, so Snavely got jumped. Tough spot for Lindemann, but as we've talked about a couple of times, while these situations aren't glamorous and not desirable, the outs are important and valuable nonetheless. 2-2.
Lindemann, a Tommy John survivor, had it back in his high school career in Burlington, Wisconsin, and I think that was part of the reason why the plan was to redshirt him for so long into this year, is that he was still kind of rehabbing and maybe not 100%.
Got in on the handle just enough. Jackson lost it, now picked it up again and dropped it. Boy, that had disaster written all over it. It only cost Wichita State 1 base. I say only. It'll include a run, but what a disastrous opening game of this 3-game series and 9-game homestand.
I'm not sure Jackson ever saw this.
Well, there was a time that
picked
he
it up
didn't.
intermittently.
Yeah, I was going to say at the beginning maybe, and then at the end at the last second. Take a look at Jackson, who in his defense had a long way to run, and this is not a great time of night to be taking your eye off the ball. Didn't see it, then did. He did right there and overran it.
The fact that he was even in the neighborhood without seeing it for about 85% of its trajectory was pretty impressive, but ultimately it proved a fatal mistake as it falls behind him, and maybe a mistake by the runner Thomas, who didn't play that halfway. If he did, he's likely standing on third base right now.
So McVeigh will be credited with a single lost in the twilight. And so now dating back to that game at KU, the last 7 batters that Lindemann has faced have all reached. Should have been an out on the fly ball to left that Jackson lost in the sky, but they go single, single, single here in the 8th. And this has just been a nightmare for the Shockers coaches and players in that dugout, facing a really, I don't know how you want to define it, must-win series, defining your season series, finishing strong series, all those things, has just gone all Bearcats tonight. Well, Lindemann was given a clean inning, but he hasn't, to this point, been able to answer the call. And that one's in there. So 1 pitch away from loading the bases and really providing Cincinnati with the knockout blow. There have been errors, misplays, working behind in the count. You've had Cincinnati making not 1 but 2 highlight reel plays on their defensive end. Their pitcher has been peppering the strike zone all night. And now the first 4 have reached here in the 8th. And now Cole Murphy. And that's probably going to do it for Jacob Lindemann. If so, that will be back-to-back starts, or back-to-back appearances anyway, that Lindemann has faced for and unable to retire any of them. 3 hits and a walk. The Shockers are in trouble here in the 8th.
Wichita State University is preparing today's students to become tomorrow's leaders. The Shock the World campaign is raising $25 million in private funds for a new home for the W. Frank Barton School on the Innovation Campus. Invest today in tomorrow's business leaders by calling 316-978-4076 or visit www.wichita.edu/shocktheworld.
Cincinnati threatened but didn't score in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 5th. But they plated 5 in the 4th, 1 in the 7th, 1 so far here in the 8th. And they have them loaded up with nobody out. And Clayton McGinnis has a gargantuan task if he wants to keep this game right where it is. Bases drunk, nobody out. Murphy, Santiago, and Bremner due up to face him.
There's the numbers for McGinnis, who, as you can see, has a very good strikeout-to-walk ratio, 27-9, and it's been fairly good at hit suppression as well, just as 21 base knocks allowed in 25 innings, but rather elevated ERA at 4.68. He worked twice this past weekend against UCF, an inning in 1 ball game scoreless with a couple of hits, and then 2 1/3 in which he allowed 1 earned run.
Been a busy man. This is appearance number 26 for McGinnis. His freshman season, he appeared 22 times, actually made 7 starts, so he's a midweeker, and threw a career-high 49 innings. But his last 47 outings have been out of the bullpen the last 2 years. In the air to left, down toward the corner. Jackson's got this one measured. It'll be a sacrifice fly, and moving from second to third goes McVeigh. So Murphy gets the job done. It's now 8-0. Finally an out recorded by Shocker here in the inning.
Well struck into this corner, and not an easy play for Alex Jackson. Pretty similar to the one that he lost up into the lights. Again, very high into the air and towards the line where he had a long run, but able to settle under this one and keeps the double play in order.
So an 8-run output here in the opening game of this 3-game series. There have been 3 other times this year that Cincinnati has broken out the bats and scored at least this many runs in a American series. Did it twice against Memphis in their sweep against the Tigers. If they hurry, the Shockers can roll it up, and they do. So it's been a night of double plays, but it's also been a night of execution by Cincinnati.
Introducing Dunkin's new cold brew coffee, steeped slowly in cold water for small batches with an ultra-smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
Charles Koch Arena is the place where we gather as a community to compete against the very best. Now our game plan is to renovate Koch Arena by adding a new Student-Athlete Success Center. Your tax-deductible gift can help deliver that slam dunk. Join us at the level that is right for you. Donate online at wichita.edu/shocktheworld.
On this Star Wars night, the force has been with the Bearcats. We got a crooked number and a big one in the 4th inning. As it turns out, Denning, that's been all that JT Perez has needed. Been a couple of cosmetic runs here lately, but now with an 8-0 score, you can ask Perez to maybe only get one more, maybe try to squeeze 2 out of him. But because it's 8-0 instead of maybe 4 or 5-0, you allow Cincinnati to go with Perez for one more, and then whoever they want to throw to get the 9th with an 8-run lead. So
he's been really good. Even if this wasn't an 8-run game, he's been impressive, and he's been kind of exactly what we thought he would be. Not a whole lot of strikeouts, not a whole lot of walks. Allows a fair share of hits, but for the most part, just a pitcher, a guy who can throw a bunch of different pitches in any count, in any spot, and he gets away with not having elite velocity just by being able to command everything.
And he competes. Comes right at the Shocker hitters. Now, this is going to be probably a recurring theme this weekend, not necessarily the effectiveness of JT Perez. I'm sure Shocker fans hope it's not, but the fact that he doesn't throw all that hard, Cincinnati has a staff full of guys that you can say that about. 90 miles an hour is pretty much going to be the max for velocity for the Cincinnati starters, or relievers for that matter.
Well, J.D. Heilman, who's the pitching coach for Cincinnati, has made kind of a habit of turning guys who are not the hardest throwers in the world into really good arms. And basically it's by doing the things that we just said. It makes guys compete, makes them throw strikes, and you'd be surprised how many good things can happen when you're in the strike zone and keeping your defense engaged.
And he's been a double play making machine. Young gives one a ride to right center field. Habercorn, a long run, and the Shockers break up the shutout. Travis Young becomes the 12th Shocker to hit a home run this year. That's his first of the season, and it's now 8-1. And just as I say, Perez got a lot of outs on the ground. Young put a real charge into that one, didn't he?
Well, Habercorn robbed him of a hit his last time up when he tried to shoot it to right center field, so this time he gets a little more loft on it. This was crushed, one of the deepest parts of the ballpark, and shows you the strength that Travis has. How many 9-hole hitters can take the ball out of here to right center field? Impressive stuff.
So Young becomes the latest to join the home run parade. That breaks up the shutout and may usher JT Perez out of the game. Travis Young had gone 141 at bats between home runs. Young, we talk about Ritter lately, but Young has really been in a good way offensively, Denning, especially in the last 3 weeks or so.
Getting chances against left-handed pitching, and even if it's in a platoon role, he's been ready to go when called upon, and more good swings tonight.
Clayton Colvin will take over for JT Perez, so his night is done after 7 innings and 1 batter as Young knocks him out of the game.
Become a part of history at Wichita State University by helping us complete X Stadium. A new 10,000 square foot performance facility will give our baseball, softball, tennis, and golf student athletes the strength and conditioning training space they need. Your tax-deductible gift will help us knock it out of the park. Join us at the level that is right for you. Donate online at wichita.edu/shock the world.
Clayton Colvin will take over for JT Perez, who went 7+. Travis Young's leadoff home run has ushered him out of the ball game. Colvin's had good numbers on the year.
Top of the order, right field.
More than a strikeout an inning. And he is one of the guys that they really do trust out of the pen. Again, we talked about it, Denning. They expect and hope for a lot out of their starters. But he and Jared Yoakum, who is their closer, they put a lot of faith in, but the middle relief corps, maybe not so much. And the Shockers couldn't find out firsthand tonight.
Colvin just doesn't allow many hits, 14 of them in 22 innings on the year, and pretty traditional right over the top right-hander, but has a little bit of deception to it with that slight pause as he brings the ball back behind his back. It's allowed him to have some very good success this year, the 2.45 ERA, and is coming off 2 scoreless innings last time out against the Kansas Jayhawks.
Ritter stays alive as that foul tip was not held by Thomas. Mentioned that Shockers' Travis Young becomes the 12th different Wichita State player to hit a home run. Tennessee Tech, not surprisingly, has 15 different players with a home run this year. So the Shockers are really an elite company with all the different players that have hit a home run. Now that's an even dozen.
Name an offensive stat. Tennessee Tech probably leads the country in it.
So Ritter plunked after falling behind 0-2. Yeah, and they also just recently had a 28-game winning streak snapped.
That's right.
The hands of Simo. And that one took a bite out of Thomas. Watch his bare hand.
Out.
That's why you tuck it behind your back. And the trainer's going to take a look.
Luke Ritter just living on base now. 3 out of 4 times he has been aboard tonight. Continues to be white hot. It's a shame that the middle of the order behind him hasn't been able to do any damage.
Well, it looks like Thomas is going to be able to continue. Here's Genesta. Grayson will be able to face a right-hand batter now, although he was on there all 3 times against Perez. Reached on an error, had a base hit and a walk. So a huge hill to climb with only 6 outs remaining. Young started the inning with a home run. Then Colvin took over for Perez and has plunked Ritter. It's been a couple of years since Wichita State has overcome a deficit this big, and I doubt it came this late. Shockers came from 9 down to beat Illinois State 2 years ago, May 14th. And now 5 outs left for the Shockers.
Third baseman, Alex.
The rest of this ball game is about just trying to have good swings and get some good vibes, essentially, that you can carry into the rest of the weekend. There is nothing more disheartening than just getting beat thoroughly 1 through 9 on a Friday night where nothing goes your way. If you can just pull a couple runs back late, even if you aren't able to come back and win the ball game, that can sometimes carry over in the next day or two.
And you don't want to turn this into an individual thing by any means, but if 1 or 2 individuals for Wichita State finishes the 8th and 9th strong, and they come up tomorrow in a big situation, then certainly you would take what would normally be described just as a kind of a throwaway couple of at-bats where you got a hit, but it may help you win a game later on. And Alec Bohm may be one of those guys because he has come this close to grounding into 3 double plays. And you would almost 100% be able to assume that at some point during this 3-game series that he's going to need to be in the middle of things offensively for the Shockers.
They've been either in on his hands or off the end of his bat. Have worked him in and away and basically not giving him a whole lot to hit.
And there's that good feeling that you were talking about. Took a breaking ball and hit a rocket into center field, and it's now 8-2. Alec Bohm drives in his 41st run of the year. It's a 2-run Shocker 8th.
Mistake from Colvin here on 0-2. This breaking ball catches way too much plate against a good hitter in Bohm, and he's not going to miss it. Shoots it right back up the middle, of course, with Habercorn exceptionally deep in center field. No question the Ritter was going to be able to score easily.
For a guy that's as tall as he is, that's a pretty short stroke.
Gets to the baseball quick and efficiently, too. There's not a whole lot of wasted motion there.
He'll take a shot at 21st Street every now and then, but not normally more than once per at-bat.
And not normally in 2-strike situations.
Right.
He's good at letting it rip on 2-0, 3-1 when he has a good feel for what's coming and can kind of pick his pitch and his spot. But 0-2, he'll shorten up.
Troutwine in a bit of a slide now. He has caught the majority of the games this year. They've tried as best they can to get him off of his feet in the midweek. He's now 1 for his past 11. And he muscles that one into center field for a base hit after testing Ramey 3 times in right. So the Shockers finally making some noise here in the 8th inning.
And back-to-back base hits on 0-2. As Colvin tried to come right after Troutwine with a fastball. He blew the first 2 by him. And this one, again, too much plate. Sound like a broken record, but that's just middle third and hittable, and Troutwine pulls the hands in to shoot it into center.
Hunter Gibson, the Shockers' best pinch hitter, has been announced. He is 5 out of 15 in this role. The Shockers overall have done a great job this year pinch hitting. They have 21 pinch hits. 2 on and 1 out, and Gibson's job will be keep the ball off the ground and, more importantly, keep the line moving.
He's another guy who's capable of making this a ball game with one swing. As the 1 home run this season that came in his first collegiate at-bat here at X Stadium, and more than capable of turning this into an 8-5 game, at which point Wichita State would feel like they've got a little bit of life.
So he's 5 for 15 as a pinch hitter. He is 5 for 15 in the 6 games that he's started. He's homered once, driven in 8. Clayton Colvin has found the going a little tough here in the 8th. Season's numbers, as we showed you when he came in, pretty good. 1 win, 2 saves, 2.45 ERA. The inning started with a home run, then Colvin's troubles started with a hit batter. And by the way, he was ahead of Ritter before he hit him. And then couldn't put away Bohm or Troutwine. And now is about to uncork a very dangerous pitch to Hunter Gibson. Snuck that one by him. 2-1.
Took a little something off. 77 on 2-0 and just fed it in there at the knees to a guy who is probably looking for something dead red.
Not exactly sure what that was. But Gibson's got a couple of swings left. 2 on, 1 out, 2 in here in the 8th for the Shockers. A little flare to left. Weimer with a long run. He's going to get there. And 2 down. Maybe a sigh of relief there for Clayton Colvin to get that second out.
Probably not the swing that Gibson was looking for ahead in the count. Ends up kind of trying to inside out this one, out on his front foot just a little bit. And now it'll take a 2-out hit if Wichita State's going to keep this rally moving along.
Vickers, like Bohm, is hit into 2 double plays. And like Bohm, may need a hit here to clear his mind for the rest of the series. Bohm got his. Thomas freaked out a little bit after that ball ended up right at his feet. He didn't know where it was.
And maybe got crossed up or something, but his urgency level was about 100 points higher than everyone else's in the ballpark there.
He was on tilt there for about 2 seconds.
I don't think Alec Bohm or Gunnar Troutwine was going anywhere on this, but yep.
Oh, you're right. He got crossed up and it hit the umpire. No wonder he didn't know where it was.
So that would explain that.
That was a tremendous block by John Osmus. That one's in there. 1-1. Boy, so many times you see the home plate umpire go down like a sack of potatoes when they get hit with either a foul tip or a pitched ball. I don't know that any leather made it onto that ball before it hit John Osmus in the shoulder.
And he didn't even flinch.
He sure didn't.
Just wore it.
Vickers timed that breaking ball and wishes he could have done a little more with it. 1-2.
That's another Chick-fil-A foul ball.
So the Shockers, if nothing else, avoid the shutout. They have only been whitewashed one time this year. And now Colvin and Thomas having trouble getting together.
Liam Eddy and Preston Snavely were the two right-handers throwing for Wichita State for the top of the ninth inning. Of course, Eddy has been a starter all season long for the Shockers.
He has really fallen on some hard times over his last 4 starts or so after coming out like gangbusters. The pitching matchup tomorrow is Tyler Davis and Nathan Kroger. It's TBA for Wichita State Sunday morning. Any ideas who that might be if it's not Eddy? Denny?
My best guess would have been Preston Snavely, I suppose. But if Lungwitz is on the shelf, Barnhouse is on the shelf, both those guys have gotten Sunday starts this year. And your midweek guy looks like he's coming on for the top of the ninth. It's hard to say. I don't have any eligibility left, do you?
I'm fresh out.
Okay. For a while there, Eddy didn't have a ball, and it was just kind of dry running it. So I wasn't sure if he was actually going to throw any pitches, in which case maybe they were just working on something mechanical.
Vickers putting up a fight here in the 8th. Well, in the game that Jacob Lindemann made his debut, we also saw Paxton Wallace make his pitching debut. So if you think this one is out the gate and there's any further trouble in this one, he would be another candidate to save everybody else. Shockers get 2 and leave 2 as we head to the 9th.
Introducing Dunkin's new cold brew coffee, steeped slowly in cold water for small batches with an ultra-smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
Well, the TBA might have been answered. Liam Eddy is indeed out there for the 9th inning. Now, if he works a quick and easy one, then maybe, just maybe, that puts him back into the mix for extended innings on Sunday. But the number 2 starter to start the season and exclusive starter in his freshman year altogether,
Now pitching for the Shockers,
Liam Eddy,
6.
first appearance out of the pen after 11 starts. But he has really struggled to shut down the opponents in his most previous starts. That includes last weekend in Orlando, where UCF got him for 3 runs and 5 hits in 3 innings. All told, in his last 3 starts, Denning 8 1/3, 14 runs. So he's kind of hit a wall in his freshman year.
Shows how quick it can turn around for you. For as good as he was through his first 8 starts with an ERA that was at 1.94 to out of the weekend rotation 3 starts later.
He started his Shocker career becoming just the second freshman pitcher in school history to win his first 4 starts. The other was David Haas back in 1985. And he being named the number 2 starter as a freshman is certainly not something common, I would imagine, in any program, but certainly not this one. But he obviously, in his freshman fall, impressed Mike Steele and Todd Butler enough to place a lot of trust in him. And, boy, he really made it pay off for the first month and a half or so.
Just have to wonder if the book got out on him a little bit. And that's something that absolutely you don't have to deal with in high school baseball. There is no scouting reports or very limited ones that are probably incorrect. And you get to the collegiate level, and after 4 or 5 starts, there's a book on you, and you're going to have to make adjustments.
Well, before he ran into trouble, and that would be 3 starts ago, I mean real trouble, because he pitched very well against Tulane. He was a strike-throwing machine. There was only 2 starts in his first 8 where he walked more than 1. And then the trouble came. Half swing and no swing. In his last 3 starts, he's walked a total of 6 in the 8 1/3 innings. Really a departure from his very good command that he displayed in the first 8. But the hits started coming, and Eddie started falling behind hitters at a much higher rate, and a lot like the demise of Cody Hoyer lately. When your command goes, you're in trouble.
Or if you can only throw 1 pitch for a strike and hitters can zero in on that, you're in trouble. And it shows just how much of a necessity it is to be able to throw multiple pitches for strikes, or at the very least have elite command with one of your offerings. You can, I suppose, get away with just 1 pitch if it's a really good one. You know where it's going every time, but that's not the case right now with a couple of the bastions of Wichita State's weekend rotation at the beginning of the year.
And it should be pointed out, too, that Eddie has made a few tweaks in his delivery. He is no longer going over his head in the full windup after he walked Dondre Bremner. Back to the stretch he goes, but he has really struggled to command the strike zone, and that was no such trouble first 2 months of the year.
And I think Troutwine is letting him know that. And that last pitch, Troutwine is set up away. That's a 1-1 fastball that ends up almost hitting Habercorn. So that's missing by 2 or 3 feet.
I don't think that was a, hey, come on, you can do this type of meeting that Troutwine had. It was a one-sided conversation. Got in on the hands just enough. 1 out in the Bearcat ninth.
I like the swings from Habercorn all night. He has put together some really good at-bats. That's the first time he's been retired. But provides a little punch down at the bottom of the order in what is otherwise kind of the weaker part of this lineup. But still, I mean, just look at Bremner getting one of his first starts at shortstop, was on base 3 times tonight. So contributions from a part of the order that hadn't done much.
Yeah, Bremner was barely above 200 before tonight. Been on there 3 out of 5 times.
And Ramey has struck out 3 times, but maybe has the turning point at bat in this game. That sacrifice fly that was ruled an error on Travis Young when he dropped the baseball and ultimately kind of opened the floodgates for that 5-run fourth.
So it would appear the Shockers will turn to Tyler Davis, the freshman, to try to square up this series. We'll have it for you here on WSUTV tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock. Davis pitched in but didn't get the win in the only game the Shockers won last weekend. And there is a base hit for Ramey to left center field. That's hit number 2 for him all year. He is now 2 for 22. Davis last Saturday, 3 earned runs in 6 innings, by definition a quality start. Shockers, by the way, have had an even dozen quality starts this year. They had a grand total of 12 all of last year. So they've had their moments, but again, as Denning and I have talked about, in the conference, it just has always seemed, if it's not one thing, it's another. And I think tonight would qualify as that. Shockers a little shaky defensively. The pitching has let them down a little bit, and Wichita State waited until the 8th to get things going offensively. 2 down.
We didn't quite define this as must win as far as this ball game in particular. I think we identified this series as maybe must win. And if nothing else, this result will really test the mettle of this Wichita State team and put their backs up against the wall as far as do they want their season to continue past the end of May.
And you certainly hate to look this far ahead and be doomsfarer, but if Memphis continues to win and the Shockers don't get out of the tailspin that they're in, that trip to Beale Street will certainly be a tester come the end of the regular season. Because whatever happens in this series won't get any easier next weekend when South Florida comes to town. That'll be a souvenir for, no doubt, some Star Wars fans. 0-2, the count to Joey Thomas.
Yeah, for fans who aren't aware, what you're referencing is that Memphis right now is the only team that would not be in a position to make the American Conference tournament. One team gets left out each year, and it would be tremendously disappointing, to say the least, for the start that Wichita State had to this season to end up out of the mix as far as the conference tournament goes. Not ideal.
Well, there you see it. Now you don't. Memphis has 2 wins in the league. The Shockers have 5.
USF coming to town next weekend, of course, with one of college baseball's best prospects, left-hander Shane McClanahan will get the start on Friday. To say it doesn't get any easier is putting it lightly.
Bouncer to Bohm. And Eddie works around some trouble here in the 9th. Last chance for the Shockers, down 6.
Wichita State University is preparing today's students to become tomorrow's leaders. The Shock the World campaign is raising $25 million in private funds for a new home for the W. Frank Barton School on the Innovation Campus. Invest today in tomorrow's business leaders by calling 316-978-4076 or visit www.wichita.edu/shocktheworld.
Clayton Colvin trying to close it out for Cincinnati. It's been all Bearcats since a 5-run fourth inning. To follow up on what Denning and I were talking about last half inning, Memphis being in some ways on the Shockers' heels. They trail Connecticut 5-1 after 8 innings in Stores. So little solace that Wichita State won't have Memphis creeping up on them, but unless they pull off a incredible comeback here tonight, Shockers will fall to 5-11 in American play. Lower third of the order against Clayton Colvin. We'll let you know if it is actually Jackson, Boyer, and Young. I would guess it won't be.
Leading off the WSU now.
Jackson part will be. He's had a good night, hitting a walk.
Jackson.
Clayton Colvin had a bumpy 8th. Gave up a run on a couple of hits. Same two teams tomorrow, 2 p.m. first pitch. And then, in case you haven't noticed, the next 2 Sunday games will be in the morning, 10:30 first pitch, where the finale starting day after tomorrow.
That's an adjustment in and of itself.
I'll say.
And most of the times throughout the weekend series, those are pretty traditional game times. 6 o'clock on a Friday, usually 2 o'clock on a Saturday, 1 o'clock on a Sunday, or maybe 3 and 2. But 10:30 is early.
Noon's even a little more palatable, but yeah, 10:30, you got to get the clock going, the body clock going quick. Jackson will finish 1 out of 3. Josh DeBacker will hit for Jordan Boyer.
Pinch hitting for Wichita State, number 5, Josh DeBacker.
Shockers have been out hit 14-9. It was much more one-sided than that after 5. Shockers piled up some hits and a couple of runs late. Six of the 9 hits have come from the 6th inning on.
Touch that home plate, no? Make sure it's warm. Hey, that's right.
DeBacker 2 out of 2 pinch hitting so far this year. Had a notion and held off 1 and 2.
Guy who also provides some of that versatility we talked about, with the ability to play corner outfield spots and also first base. Limited opportunities to swing the bat this year, but has had some better at-bats as of late.
Got painted on a breaking ball, and down he goes.
That's a really good pitch from Colvin. Starts it off the plate away, snaps it back to the outer third, and he has saved his best for Jackson and DeBacker to start this inning.
Even if he wanted to swing at that pitch, there's probably not a thing he could have done with it.
So it appears as though Cincinnati and Scott Guggen's content to let Clayton Colvin finish this one out, maybe with the idea that he was going to be burned anyway for tomorrow and no need to risk any other arm.
Travis Young got the Shockers on the board last inning, led off with a opposite field home run against JT Perez. That knocked him out of the game. Shockers got one other run later in the inning. Shockers down to their final strike. Also odd, along with everything else that's gone against the Shockers tonight, Wichita State's been great at home, 19-4. But they barely made a peep tonight against Cincinnati, and Colvin strikes out the side the last 4, dating back to the final out of the 8th. Game 1 goes to Cincinnati. Denning and I will be back with some closing thoughts after this.
Cincinnati 8, Wichita State 2.
Become a part of history at Wichita State University by helping us complete X Stadium. A new 10,000 square foot performance facility will give our baseball, softball, tennis, and golf student athletes the strength and conditioning training space they need. Your tax-deductible gift will help us knock it out of the park. Join us at the level that is right for you. Donate online at wichita.edu/shock the world.
Denning, this one stunk if you're a Shocker fan, but there's a reason why they call it a series. There's 2 more after this one, and the Shockers need to regroup.
Very little in terms of bright spots for Wichita State tonight. There's not much else to say about it. Just a thorough beating that Cincinnati was able to apply in Game 1 of this series. They really were in control, I think, from the beginning of this ball game until the end. That 0-0 tie through 3 was a bit of a mirage, frankly, and the Shockers ultimately got what was coming to them in that 5-run fourth and never recovered.
Wichita State will try to even the series. You can watch it again tomorrow on WSUTV. First pitch shortly after 2 o'clock. Tyler Davis and Nathan Kroger, your combatants, a pair of right-handers on the mound. For Denning, I'm Shane. For Greg and our entire crew here on WSUTV, thanks again for watching. Game 1 goes to Cincinnati 8-2. Until tomorrow at 2, so long from X Stadium.